And we are live. Hello world. Welcome to Rasta Ren Reads. Hope my microphone is not too loud. Trying to make sure it's fully balanced over here. Put on this headphone to get an idea what it sounds like. Alright. Good. Half on half. Alright. Perfect. Alright, so today we're going through the last book of Enki again. Last time we did chapters 3 through 6. We did chapter 3, 4, 5, and 6. So today we're gonna do chapters 7, 8, 9, and 10. The last book of Enki, for those who are not familiar, it's basically a compilation of ancient tablets found in ancient Sumeria. A guy called Zachariah Sitchin went through the trouble of compiling the information, canonizing it, and rewriting it from the first person perspective. In essence, it's a story of basically the things that happened prior to and during the Old Testament. So if you haven't seen my previous videos, guys, you can check them out on YouTube at Rasta Ren _876. I uploaded the earlier ones and recently started streaming over there. Only have a little above 400 subscribers. So guys, if you have the time, go ahead and open up a tab on YouTube. Find me on there, Rasta Ren 876. Go ahead and hit the subscribe. First, before I get in, let me say thanks, Jen. I see you there. I appreciate the support, Arnett. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into today's topic. All right. Yes, Jen, I will be doing the book of Enoch pretty soon. That's probably
Synopsis of the seventh tablet. Returned to the Abzu, Adamu and Tiamat bear children. Earthlings proliferate, working in the mines and as servants. Enlil's grandchildren, the twins Utu and Inanna, are born. Anunnaki couples bear other offspring on Earth. Climate changes cause hardships on Earth and on Lamu. Nibiru's orbital nearing is accompanied by upheavals. Enki and Marduk explore the moon, find it inhospitable. Enki determines the constellations and celestial time.
And the prior tablets, guys, went through how they got here, where their planet is located in the solar system, and all of that. All right, so I implore you to go ahead and check out the previous streams. They're also titled The Last Book of Enki. Rasta Ren reads The Last Book of Enki. And then pretty soon I'll be uploading a full video with like the entire thing without my commentary. So stay tuned for that.
Bitter about his own fate, Enki promises supremacy to Marduk. Anu gives command of a new spaceport to Utu, not to Marduk. Enki encounters and mates with two earthling females. One bears a son, Adapa, the other a daughter, Titi. Keeping his parenting a secret, Enki raises them as foundlings. Adapa, highly intelligent, becomes the first civilized man. Adapa and Titi mate, have two sons, Cain and Abel.
So now we're getting into the story of Cain and Abel.
To the Abzu, away from the Eden, let them be expelled. So did Enlil the command decree. From the Eden to the Abzu, Adamu and Tiamat were expelled. In an enclosure among the trees Enki them placed. To know each other he left them. With joy did Enki see what Ningazida had done come to be. With child Tiamat was frolicking. Ninmah came the birth giving to watch. A son and a daughter, twins to the earth beings, were born. With wonderment did Ninmah and Enki watch the newborns. How they grew and developed was a marvel. Days were as months, months to earth years accumulated. By the time Adamu and Tiamat had other sons and daughters, the first ones were by themselves procreating. Before one shar of Nibiru had passed, the earthlings were proliferating. With understanding were the primitive workers endowed, of commandments they were comprehending. To be with the Anunnaki they were eager, for food rations they toiled well. Of heat and dust they did not complain, of backbreaking they did not grumble. Of the hardships of work the Anunnaki of the Abzu were relieved.
So if you didn't see the previous tablets where they created the Adamu and Tiamat basically as like a mold for Homo sapiens. So this is now talking about after the Homo sapiens, as I said, started procreating basically.
The vital gold to Nibiru was coming. Nibiru's atmosphere was slowly healing. Earth mission to the satisfaction of all was proceeding. Among the Anunnaki, those who from heaven to earth came, there was also espousing and procreation. The sons of Enlil and Enki from sisters and half-sisters from healing heroines took spouses. To them on earth, sons and daughters were born. Though by the life cycles of Nibiru were they endowed, by earth's cycles were they quickened. Who on Nibiru in diapers would still be, on earth became a child.
So in other words, on Nibiru, children grow up a lot slower. Because then a year on Nibiru is much longer, is basically what it's saying. So the children here on Earth, they're saying we're growing a lot faster than children would grow up in Nibiru.
Who on Nibiru began to crawl when on Earth born was running around. Special joy there was when to Nanar and Ningal twins were born. A daughter and a son they were, Inanna and Utu. By Ningal they were named. With them a third generation of Anunnaki on earth was present. For the offspring of the leaders, tasks were allocated. Some olden chores were divided, easier among the offspring they were made. To the olden chores new tasks were added. Upon the earth the warmth was rising, vegetation flourished, wild creatures overran the land. The rains were heavier, rivers were gushing, abodes repairing needed. Upon the earth the heat was increasing, the snow-white parts to water were melting. The bars of the seas the oceans were not containing. From the depths of the earth volcanoes were fire and brimstones belching. The grounds were trembling each time the earth was shaking. In the lower world, the snow-white hued place, the earth was grumbling.
So they're basically talking about the South Pole. The North and the South Pole were melting and all that stuff. So this is not the first time we're experiencing where it's like a global meltdown of the ice caps, and then over time it reforms and melts and reforms.
At the tip of the Abzu, Enki a place for observing established. To his son Nergal and his spouse Irish Kegel, command thereof he entrusted. A thing unknown, an untoward thing, thereunder is brewing, Nigal to his father Enki said. In Nibruki, the place of the bond heaven earth, Enlil the heavenly circuits was watching. By the means of the tablets of destinies, celestial motions he was comparing. There is turmoil in the heavens, Enlil to his brother Enki said. From the planet Lamu, the place of the way station, Marduk to Enki his father was complaining. Strong winds are disturbing, annoying dust storms they are raising. So Marduk to his father Enki words was beaming.
So Marduk on Mars saying, yo, we have a lot of dust storms out here. And then Enki down here observing all the changes in the atmosphere and the melting of the ice caps and all that stuff.
In the hammered bracelet, turmoils are occurring. Upon the earth, brimstones from the skies were falling.
So, brimstones from the skies were falling, guys. Asteroids. The hammered bracelet is basically the asteroid belt.
Pitiless demons havoc causing, violently the earth they approached. Into flaming fires in the skies they were bursting. In a clear day darkness they were causing, with storms and evil winds they raged around. Like stony missiles the earth they were attacking. Kingu, Earth's moon, and Lamu too by these havocs were afflicted.
Okay. And science tells us about what they call the late bombardment. The late asteroid bombardment or something like that. Don't remember the exact term. But modern science confirms this event that is being described here. I think they call it the late bombardment or something like that. You can look it up.
The faces of all three with countless scars were covered. In Lil and Enki to Anu the king urgent words were beaming. Nibiru's savants they alerted. The earth and the moon and Lamu a calamity unknown are facing. From Nibiru the savants were responding. Their words the leaders' hearts were not calming. In the heavens the family of the sun were taking stations. The celestials of whom earth is the seventh in a row were choosing places. In the heavens Nibiru was approaching. The sun's abode it was nearing.
So in other words, the planets are shifting places, and it's all due to Nibiru's approach to the inner port of the solar system.
By the seven in a row arraigned was Nibiru distracted. The path through the hammered bracelet it was missing. From the bracelet bits and pieces it has been displacing. Bereft of the celestial bar, Lahamu and Mamu near the sun were crouching. In the heavens, Lahamu her glorious dwelling place was abandoning. Toward Nibiru, the heavenly king, she was attracted. A queen of heaven she wished to be. To quill her, Nibiru from the celestial deep a monstrous demon made appear.
Alright. So basically, alright, this
a monster once to Tiamat's host belonging, by the celestial battle fashioned. From the celestial deep made its way, by Nibiru was it from slumber awakened. From horizon to the midst of heaven like a flaming dragon it was stretched. 1 league was its head, 50 leagues in length it was, awesome was its tail. By day the skies of earth it darkened, by night upon the face of the moon a spell of darkness it cast. To her brothers, the celestials, Lahamu for help was calling.
And there are plenty of other stories, guys, around the world that talks about this story about the black sun.
Who will the dragon obstruct? Who will stop and kill it? She was asking. Only valiant Kingu, once Tiamat's protector, stepped forward to respond. To intercept the dragon in its path, Kingu was making haste. Fierce was the encounter, a tempest of clouds upon Kingu was raised. By its foundations was Kingu shaken, from the impact did the moon quake and shake.
All right.
Then the heavenly havoc was calmed. Nibiru to its distant abode in the deep was returning. Lahamu its dwelling place did not abandon. The stony missiles upon the earth and Lamu ceased their raining. Enki and Enlil with Marduk and Ninurta gathered a surveying of the havoc they undertook. The foundations of the earth Enki surveyed, of what its platforms had befallen he examined. The depths of the oceans he measured, in earth's far corners the mountains of gold and copper he scanned. Of the vital gold there will be no shortage, this was Enki saying. In the Eden, Ninurta was the surveyor, where mountains trembled and valleys shook. In his sky ship he soared and journeyed.
Alright, so basically the whole story is based on Nibiru's approach to the inner part of the solar system. It caused a major disruption, disrupting the movement of the planets and where the moon was positioned and all of that. And based on the moon changing its position, it kind of, I would say, dissipate the energy or something like that. And, everyone now started looking around to see what the damage was.
The landing platform was intact. In the valleys of the north, the early fiery liquids was pouring. So was Ninurta to his father Enlil telling.
So we have volcanic activity. Earth The landing platform was intact. In the valleys of the north, the earth fiery liquids was pouring. So was Ninurta to his father Enlil telling.
Sulfuric mist and bitumens he was discovering. On Lamu, the atmosphere was damaged. Dust storms were with life and work interfering. So Marduk to Enki was saying, to earth return I wish to his father, he disclosed. Enlil to his olden plans betook himself. What cities and their task he planned he reconsidered.
So this approach of Nibiru into the inner part of his solar system also damaged Mars' atmosphere.
A chariot place in the Eden must be established, to the others he was saying. The olden designs of the layout on the crystal tablet to them he showed. The conveying from the landing place to the way station on Lamu is no longer certain. To soar toward Nibiru from Earth we must be able, so was Enlil to them saying. For the count since the first splashdown, the count of 80 shars it was. Now this is the account of the journey to the moon by Enki and Marduk, and how Enki the three ways of heaven and the constellations determined.
And one shar, guys, is approximately 2,250 years.
Let the place of the chariots near Bad Tibera, the metal city, be established. Therefrom let the gold from earth to Nibiru in the chariots directly be carried. So Ninurta of Bad Tibera, the commander, to them words was saying. Enlil to the words of Ninurta his son gave heed. Of his son's wisdom he was proud. To Anu the king Enlil the plan quickly conveyed. To him words he was saying. Let a place of celestial chariots in the Eden be established. Near the place where the gold ores are smelted and refined, let it be built.
So they're saying, let's build a new space station in the Garden of Eden.
Let the pure gold in the chariots directly from earth to Nibiru be carried. Directly to earth from Nibiru let heroes and supplies be coming. Of great merit is the plan of my brother, Enki to their father Anu was saying. A great disadvantage in its core it is holding. The net pull of earth is than Lamu's much greater. To overcome in our powers shall be exhausted. Before there is rush to deciding, let us an alternative examine. Nearby the earth a companion it has, the moon it is. Smaller is its net pull, ascent and descent thereon little effort will require. Let us at a way station consider, let me and Marduk thereto journey. The two plans Anu the king before counselors and savants for considering presented. Let the moon be first examined, the king they did advise.
So the plan is now to establish a new way station on the moon instead of on Mars.
Let the moon be first examined, Anu to Enki, and Enlil the decision beamed. Enki was greatly joyed, the moon to him was always alluring. Whether somewhere waters it is hiding, what atmosphere it possesses, he did always wonder. In sleepless nights, its silvery cool disk with bewitchment he observed. Its waxing and waning, a game with the sun played, a wonder of wonders he deemed. What secrets from the beginning it held he wished to uncover. In a rocket ship did Enki and Marduk to the moon journey. Thrice they the earth's companion encircled. The deep wound by the dragon caused they observed. By many hollows the handiwork of smashing demons was the moon's face marked. In a place of rolling hills they set the rocket ship down, in its midst they landed. From the place the earth they could observe and the expanse of the heavens. Eagles' helmets they had to don, the atmosphere was for breathing insufficient. With ease they walked about, in this and that direction they went. The evil dragon's handiwork was dryness and desolation. Unlike Lamu it is, for a way station it is unsuitable, to his father Marduk was saying. Let us abandon this place, let us to earth return. Do not be hasty, my son, so was Enki to Marduk saying. Are you not by the celestial dance of earth and moon and sun enchanted? Unobstructed from here is the viewing, the quarter of the sun is at hand. The earth, like a globe in the void, by nothing is hanging. With our instruments we can scan the distant heavens, the handiwork of the Creator of all, in this solitude we can admire. Let us stay, the circuits observe, how the motion or how the moon circles the earth, how the earth its circuits around the sun is making. So Enki, by the sights agitated, to his son Marduk was saying. By his father's words, Marduk was persuaded. In the rocket ship they made their dwelling. For 1 circuit of earth, for 3 circuits on the moon they remained. Its motions about the earth they measured, the duration of a month they calculated. For 6 circuits of earth, for 12 circuits about the sun, earth's year they measured. How the two were entwined, causing the luminaries to disappear, they recorded. Then to the sun's quarter they attention gave. The paths of Mamu and Lahamu they studied. With the earth and the moon, Lamu the sun's second quarter constituted. 6 were the celestials of the lower waters, so was Enki to Marduk explaining. 6 were the celestials of the upper waters, beyond the bar, the hammered bracelet they were.
So at this point they're saying there are 6 bodies in the inner portion of the asteroid belt, and there were 6 bodies outside of the asteroid belt.
Anshar, Kishar, Anu, and Nudimud, Gaga, and Nibiru. These were the 6 others. 12 were they in all. Of 12 did the sun and its family make the count. Of the upheavals most recent, Marduk of his father was inquiring, why have 7 celestials in a row places taken? So was he his father asking. Their circuits about the sun, Enki then considered. Their grand band around the sun, their progenitor, Enki carefully observed. The positions of earth and moon therein on a chart Enki marked out. By the motions of Nibiru of the sun, not a descendant, the width of the great band he outlined. The way of Anu, the king, the name it Enki decided.
Alright, so at this point he's mapping out the heavens and charting how the planets orbit around the sun. So he's charting the orbits of the planets in the solar system, marking that there are 12 bodies in total in the solar system. There are 6 inside of the asteroid belt and 6 outside of the asteroid belt.
In the expanse of the deep heavens, the stars did father and son observe. By their proximities and groupings was Enki fascinated. By the circuit of the heavens from horizon to horizon he drew images of 12 constellations. In the great band, the way of Anu, 1 each with the sun's family of 12 he paired. To each one he designated a station, by names they were to be called. Then in the heavens below the way of Anu, whence Nibiru the sun is approaching, a band-like way he designed, the way of Enki he it designated. To it 12 constellations by their shapes he also allotted. The heavens above the way of Anu, the upper tier, the way of Enlil he called. Therein too the stars into 12 constellations he assembled. 36 were the stars' constellations, in the 3 ways were they located. So will the earth's position designated as around the sun it travels.
So originally, originally there were 36 constellations. Now we know only 12, right?
The start of the cycle of celestial time, the measure Enki to Marduk indicated. When on earth I had arrived, the station that was ending by me, the station of the fishes, was named. The one that followed after my name title, he of the water, I called. So Enki with satisfaction and pride to his son Marduk was saying, your wisdom the heavens embraces, your teachings any own understanding extend.
So Aquarius is named after Enki.
But on earth and on Nibiru, knowledge and rulership are separated. So did Marduk to his father say, my son, what is that you do not know? What is it that you are missing? To him Enki was saying, the secrets of the heavens, the secrets of the earth, with you have I shared. Alas, my father, Marduk was saying, there was agony in his voice. When the Anunnaki in the Abzu the toil ceased, and the primitive worker you set to fashion, not my mother, but Ninmah, the mother of Ninurta, to assist you was summoned. Not I, but Ningizida of me the younger, to help you was invited. With them, not with me, your knowledge of life and death did you share.
Alright, so now Marduk complaining to his father like, yo, bro, these are the gripes I have with you.
My son, Enki to Marduk responded, to you command was given of the Igigi and Lamu to be supreme. Alas, my father, to him Marduk was saying, of supremacy by fate we are deprived. You, my father, are Anu's firstborn, yet Enlil, not you, is the legal heir. You, my father, were first to splash down, and Eridu to establish. Yet Eridu is in Enlil's domain. Yours is in the distant Abzu. I am your firstborn. By your legitimate spouse on Nibiru was I born. Yet the gold in the city of Ninurta is assembled therefrom to send or to withhold. The survival of Nibiru is in his hands. In my hands it is not. Now to earth we are returning. What will my task be? Am I to fame and kingship fated, or again to humiliated be? In silence did Enki embrace his son. On the desolate moon to him a promise made. Of that of which I have been deprived, your future lot shall be. Your celestial time will come. A station mine adjoining yours shall be. Now this is the account of Sippar, the place of the chariots in the Eden, and how the primitive workers to the Eden were returned. For many circuits of the earth, from the earth were father and son absent. On earth no plans were implemented. On Lamu the Igigi were in turmoil. Enlil to Anu secret words conveyed. His concerns to Anu he from Nibruki beamed. Enki and Marduk to the moon have gone. For countless circuits there they are staying. Their doings a mystery are. What they are scheming it is not known.
So, this guy on the moon complaining to his dad, right? And then he's saying, yo, bro, look, you were supposed to have the throne back in Nibiru. You didn't. You came to Earth. You're supposed to be the one who inherit the Earth. You didn't. What am I gonna do? Am I fated to be, is my fate is to end up like yours as well? Like, am I gonna be the same? And then on Earth, his brother is here beaming back to the king on Nibiru saying, yo, look, Enki's been missing for some time. Nobody knows what he's doing. So probably he's scheming something, I don't know.
Marduk, the way station on Lamu, has abandoned. The Igigi are agog. By dust storms has the way station been affected. What damage there is to us is not known. The place of the chariots in the Eden must be established. Therefrom the gold directly from earth to Nibiru to be carried. No way station on Lamu shall henceforth be needed. The plan of Ninurta it is. Great in these matters is his understanding. Let him the place of the chariots near Bad Tibera establish. Let Ninurta be its first commander. Anu to the words of Enlil gave much consideration. To Enlil a response he gave. Enki and Marduk to earth are returning. What about the moon they have found? Let us first to their words listen. From the moon Enki and Marduk departed. To earth they did return. Of conditions thereon they gave account. A way station is unfeasible now, so they reported. Let the place of the chariots be built, Anu was saying. Let Marduk be its commander, Enki was saying to Anu. The task is for Ninurta set aside, Enlil with anger shouted. For the Igigi command is no more needed. Of the task Marduk knowledge has. Of the gateway to heaven let Marduk be in charge, so did Enlil to his father say. Anu the matter with concern contemplated. Rivalries now the sons have affected. With wisdom was Anu endowed, with wisdom were his decisions. The place of the chariots for new ways the gold to handle is designated. Let us what henceforth comes in the hands of a new generation place. Neither Enlil nor Enki, neither Ninurta nor Marduk in command shall be. Let the third generation responsibility undertake. Let Utu be the commander. Let the place of the celestial chariots be built.
So this was Marduk's greatest fear in the beginning. Like, bro, am I going to end up like you, Pops? Am I just going to be out here just by name and nothing else to go with it?
Sippar, Bird City be its name. This was the word of Anu. Unalterable was the word of the king. In the 81st Shar was the construction started. The plans of Enlil it followed. Nibruki was in the center, a navel of the earth by Enlil it was designated.
And welcome to the stream, guys. Thanks for the support. Rasta Ren reads the last book of Enki. This is where we find the truth. We just dive right in and digest it. You know what I mean? So share the content with other persons who are interested in finding the truth. You know what I mean? Again, thanks for the support. Rasta Ren underscore 876, YouTube, um, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and then Rasta Ren 876 on Facebook.
As on circles by their place and distances the olden cities were located. Like an arrow from the lower sea toward the mountains pointing they were arrayed. A line on the twin peaks of Arata to the skies in the north reaching he drew. Where the pointing arrow the Arata line intersected, the place for Sippar, the earth's place of the chariots, he marked out.
And why does Arata sound so much like Ararat? Thanks for the support, Jen. Of course, Arnett. You know what I mean? Give thanks.
To it, the arrow directly led it from Nibruki was by an equal circle precisely located. Ingenious was the plan. By its precision, all were made to wonder. In the 82nd Shar was the construction of Sippar completed. To the hero Utu of Enlil the grandson, its command was given. An eagle's helmet for him was fashioned. With eagle's wings was he decorated. In the first chariot from Nibiru to Sippar directly come, Anu was traveling. To view for himself the installations he desired, to marvel at what was attained he wanted.
And then, as you can see, a lot of the description is kind of metaphorical. So, once you think about what it actually means, you figure that, hey, eagle's helmet, well, that's definitely a breathing device. You know what I mean? Eagle's wings, that's definitely a flight device. You know what I mean?
For the occasion, the Igigi by Marduk commanded from Lamu to earth came.
And I probably need to stop saying it, you know what I mean?
Down. From the landing place and from the Abzu, Anunnaki were assembled. There was backslapping and hailing, a feast and a celebration. For Anu, Mana, Enlil's granddaughter, singing and dancing presented. With affection, Anu kissed her. Anu Nitu, Anu's beloved, he fondly called her. Before departing, Anu, the heroes and heroines assembled. A new era has begun, so was he to them saying. Supplied directly with the golden salvation forthcoming is the end of toil. Once enough gold on Nibiru for protecting is piled in storage, the toil on earth can be diminished. Heroes and heroines to Nibiru will return. Thus did Anu, the king, to the assembled promise. A great hope to them he did extend. A few more shars of toil, and homeward they shall be bound. With much pomp did Anu to Nibiru soar back. Gold, pure gold, with him was carried. His new task, Utu, with cherish performed. Ninurta of Bad Tibera command retained. Marduk to Lamu did not return. With his father to the Abzu he did not go. Over all the lands he wished to roam, in his skyship the earth to comprehend. Of the Igigi, some on Lamu, some on earth, Utu was the commander made. After Anu to Nibiru returned, on earth the leaders great expectations had. With renewed vigor to labor, the Anunnaki they expected. Gold quickly to amass, thereby quicker homebound to be. That, alas, was not what came to pass. In the Abzu, relief, not continued toil, was the Anunnaki's expectation. Now that the earthlings are proliferating, let them provide the labor. So were the Anunnaki in the Abzus saying. In the Eden, the tasks were greater, more abodes, more provisions were required. For primitive workers to the Abzu confined did the Eden heroes clamor. For 40 shars was relief only to the Abzu provided. The heroes in the Eden shouted, our toil has increased beyond endurance, let us have the workers too. While Enlil and Enki the matter were debating, Ninurta the decision into his hands took. With 50 heroes an expedition to the Abzu he led, with weapons were they armed. In the forest and the steppes of the Abzu the earthlings they chased. With nets they them captured, male and female to the Eden they them brought.
So basically, this guy invaded and captured some of the earthlings to go and make them workers in the Absu. Basically, South Africa.
To do all manners of chores in the orchards and in the cities they trained them. By the doings was Enki angered, by them was Enlil enraged. By expelling of Adamu and Tiamat you have overturned, so Enlil to Ninurta said. Let the mutiny once in the Abzu occurring, not in the Eden, be repeated. So to Enlil Ninurta said, With the earthlings in the Eden, the heroes are becalmed. A few more shars, and it will no longer matter, so did Ninurta to Enlil say. Enlil was not appeased. With grumbling, let it so be to his son, he said. Let the gold pile up quickly. Let us all to Nibiru soon return. In the Eden, the Anunnaki, the earthlings with admiration observed. Intelligence they possessed, of commands they had understanding. They took over all manner of chores, unclothed they were, the task performing. Males with females among them were constantly mating, quick were their proliferations. In one shar, sometimes 4, sometimes more, were their generations. As the earthlings grew in numbers, workers the Anunnaki had. With food the Anunnaki were not satiated. In the cities and in the orchard, in the valleys and in the hills, the earthlings for food were constantly foraging. In those days, grains had not yet been brought forth. There was no ewe, a lamb had not yet been fashioned. About these matters Enlil to Enki angry words was saying. By your doings confusion was created, by you let salvation be devised. Now this is the account of how civilized man was brought about. How by a secret of Enki, Adapa and Titi in the Eden were brought forth. By the proliferation of the earthlings, Enki was pleased, Enki was worried. The lot of the Anunnaki was greatly eased, their discontent was diminished. By the proliferation the Anunnaki shunned toil, the workers as serfs were becoming. For 7 shars the Anunnaki's lot was greatly eased, diminished was their discontent. By the proliferation of the earthlings, what by itself was growing for all insufficient was. In 3 more shars of fish and fowl there was a shortage. What by itself grows Anunnaki and earthlings did not satiate. In his heart, Enki a new undertaking was scheming. To create a civilized mankind, in his heart he conceived. Grains that are sown by them to be cultivated, ewes that become sheep, let them shepherd. In his heart, Enki a new undertaking was scheming. How this to attain he contemplated. The primitive workers in the Abzu he for this scheme observed. The earthlings in the Eden, in the cities, and in the orchards he considered. What could for the task make them suited? What by the life essence has not been combined? The offspring of the earthlings he observed. An alarming matter he noticed. By their repeated copulations back toward their wild forebears they were degraded. Enki in the marshlands looked about. On the rivers he sailed and observed. With him was only Izamud, his vizier, whose secrets kept. On the river's bank, bathing and frolicking, earthlings he noticed. 2 females among them were wild with beauty, firm were their breasts. Their sight, the phallus of Enki, calls to water. A burning desire he had. Shall I not kiss the young ones? Enki, his vizier Izamud, was asking. Aye, the boat will hither row, kiss the young ones, Izamud to Enki was saying. The boat thereto Izamud directed. From the boat to dry land Enki stepped. A young one to him Enki called, a tree fruit she to him offered. Enki bent down, the young one lie embraced, on her lips he kissed her. Sweet were her lips, firm with ripeness were her breast. Into her womb he poured his semen, in a mating he knew her.
So, now you see the story of the whole fruit and how the whole... Alright, let's continue.
Into her womb she took the holy semen. By the semen of the Lord Enki she was impregnated. The second young one to him Enki called. Berries from the field she him offered. Enki bent down. The young one he embraced. On her lips he kissed her. Sweet were her lips. Firm with ripeness were her breasts. Into her womb he poured his semen. Shall I not kiss the young ones? Enki, his vizier Izamud, was asking.
I have to pull that up because I can't just gloss over that part, right? Remember the story in the Bible about how the serpent offered Eve the fruit from the forbidden tree and all that crap. Now here's a first person perspective account. Let's go it over one more time.
Aye, the boat will hither row, kiss the young ones, Izamud to Enki was saying. The boat thereto Izamud directed. From the boat to dry land Enki stepped. A young one to him Enki called, a tree fruit she to him offered. Enki bent down, the young one lie embraced. On her lips he kissed her. Sweet were her lips, firm with ripeness were her breast. Into her womb he poured his semen, in a mating he knew her. Into her womb she took the holy semen, by the semen of the Lord Enki she was impregnated. The second young one to him Enki called, berries from the field she him offered. Enki bent down, the young one he embraced, on her lips he kissed her. Sweet were her lips, firm with ripeness were her breast. Into her womb he poured his semen, in a mating he knew her. Into her womb she took the holy semen, by the semen of the Lord Enki she was impregnated. With the young one's stay, whether pregnancies come about ascertain, so was Enki to his vizier Izamud saying.
So, after he impregnates both of them, he's saying to his vizier, hey, look, stay and observe to see if, these are going to come to terms, because remember, the genes are slightly different. The genetic makeup is slightly different.
Izamud by the young one sat down. By the fourth count their bulges appeared. By the 10th count, the 9th having been completed, the first young one squatted and birth gave. By her a male child was born. The second young one squatted and birth gave. By her a female child was born. At dawn and dusk, which a day delimit, on the same day the two were born. The gracious ones, dawn and dusk, thereafter in legends they were known. In the 93rd Shar, the two, by Enki fathered, in the Eden were born. Word of the births Izamud to Enki quickly brought. By the births Enki was ecstatic, whoever such a thing has ever known. Between Anunnaki and Earthling conception was attained. Civilized man I have brought into being. To his vizier Izamud Enki instructions gave. A secret must my deed remain. Let the newborns by their mothers be suckled. Thereafter into my household them bring. Among the bulrushes and reed baskets have I them found. Thus to all you will say.
Alright. This thing about the reeds and bulrushes is also similar, right? Oh, I found this child in the reeds and bulrushes. I think they said that about Moses in the Bible.
By their mothers were the newborns suckled and nurtured. To Enki's household in Eridu thereafter Izamud them brought. Among the bulrushes and reed baskets have I them found, so did Izamud to all say. Ninki to the foundlings a liking took, as her own children she raised them. Adapa, the foundling, the boy she called. Titi, one with life, the girl she named. Unlike all other earthling children, the twosome were slower to grow up than earthlings they were, much quicker in understanding they were, with intelligence they were endowed, of speaking with words capable they were. Beautiful and pleasant was the girl, with her hands she was greatly dexterous. Ninki, the spouse of Enki, to Titi took a liking. All manner of crafts she was her teaching. To Adapa Enki himself teachings gave. How to keep records he was him instructing. The achievements with pride Enki to Izamud was showing. A civilized man have I brought forth, to Izamud he was saying. A new kind of earthling from my seed has been created, in my image and after my likeness. From seed they food will grow, from ewes sheep they will shepherd. Anunnaki and earthlings henceforth shall be satiated. To his brother Enlil Enki word sent.
Let's pull that back a little bit. These words sound familiar again, right? In my image and after my likeness. Remember in Genesis 1 verse 1? No, not verse 1. It says, Genesis 1, I think is verse 26 or something like that. I know it's in chapter 1. And come, let us make man in our own image, in our own likeness.
A new kind of earthling from my seed has been created, in my image and after my likeness. From seed they food will grow, from ewes sheep they will shepherd. Anunnaki and earthlings henceforth shall be satiated. To his brother Enlil Enki word sent. From Nibruki to Eridu Enlil came. In the wilderness a new kind of earthling has come forth, to Enlil was Enki saying. Quick of learning they are, knowledge and craftwork to them can be taught. Let us from Nibiru seeds that are sown bring down. Let us from Nibiru use that sheep become to earth deliver. Let us the new breed of earthlings farming and shepherding teach. Let Anunnaki and earthlings together satiated be. So was Enki to Enlil saying. Akin to us Anunnaki in many ways, indeed they are, Enlil to his brother said. A wonder of wonders it is, in the wilderness by themselves to have come about. Izamud was summoned. Among the bulrushes and reeds baskets I them found, he said. Enlil the matter with graveness pondered, with amazement his head he shook. Indeed, a wonder of wonders it is. A new breed of earthling on earth has emerged. A civilized man has the earth itself brought forth. Farming and shepherding, crafts and tool-making he can be taught. So was Enlil to Enki saying, Let us of the new breed to Anu word send. Of the new breed, word to Anu on Nibiru was beamed. Let seeds that can be sown, let ewes that sheep become, to earth be sent. So did Enki and Enlil to Anu the suggestion make. By civilized man, let Anunnaki and earthlings become satiated. Anu the words heard, by the words he was amazed. That by life essences one kind to another leads is not unheard of, to them words back he sent. That on earth a civilized man from the Adamu so quickly appeared, that is unheard of. For sowing and husbanding great numbers are needed, perchance the beings to proliferate are unable. While the savants on Nibiru the matter contemplated, in Eridu occurrences of import took place. Adapa, in a mating Titi knew, into her womb he poured his semen. There was conception, there was birth-giving. 2 twins, 2 brothers, Titi gave birth. Word of the birth to Anu on Nibiru was beamed. The twosome for conception are compatible, proliferation by them can occur. Let seeds that are sown, use that sheep become, to earth be delivered. Let on earth farming and shepherding begin. Let us all be satiated. So did Enki and Enlil to Anu on Nibiru say. Let Titi in Eridu remain, the newborns to suckle and nurture. Let Adapa the earthling to Nibiru be brought. So did Anu his decision declare.
Alright. So to quickly recap what we learned in this tablet. So we learned that after creating the Adamu, right, basically Enki himself went and mated with the offspring of the Adamu, the quote-unquote earthlings, and his kids, he called them modern man, right? Because he's now gonna take them and teach them how to do farming, teach them how to do all these. All right. So basically, if you're new to my streams, let me say welcome. Thanks again for the support. Rasta Ren reads. This is where we find that we find a lot of various ancient tablets and manuscripts, and we deep dive and digest the information and try to decipher. The last book of Enki was basically a compilation of ancient Sumerian tablets, where Zachariah Sitchin went and compiled the information, canonized it, and then rewrote the entire thing from the first person perspective. So we're just done with tablet 7. We're gonna dive right into tablet 8. To be known, this is the last book of Enki we're doing today. When we're through with the last book of Enki, we're gonna dive into other books like the book of Enoch, the Apocrypha, and as we go along and you guys suggest more content, we'll dive into those as well. So, tablet 8, without further ado, let's dive right into it.
Synopsis of the eighth tablet. Adapa's wide understanding amazes Nibiru's savants. On Anu's orders, Adapa is brought to Nibiru, an Earthling's first ever space journey. Enki reveals Adapa's parenting truth to Anu.
Some of it, to be known, basically, it's not just removed from the Bible. Some of it is what the Bible was actually made from. Particularly these texts that we're going through, the last book of Enki. As we go along, you'll recognize a lot of the stories from the Bible, only in a lot more details and from a first-person perspective.
Enki justifies his deed by the need for more food. Adapa is sent back to start farming and shepherding. Enlil and Enki create crop seeds and sheep lines. Ninurta teaches Cain crop cultivation. Marduk teaches Abel shepherding and tool-making. Fighting over water, Cain strikes and kills Abel. Cain is tried for murder, sentenced to exile. Adapa and Titi have other offspring who intermarry.
And you will recognize names from the book as we go along as well, like Cain and Abel, right? And Adamu and other words. You'll find words that you're familiar with.
On his deathbed, Adapa blesses his son Sati as his heir. A descendant, Ikami, is taken by Marduk to Lamu. Let Adapa, the earthling, to Nibiru be brought. So did Anu his decision declare. By the decision Enlil was not pleased. Whoever of this would have thought that by a primitive worker fashioning, like us the being would become. With knowledge endowed between heaven and earth will travel. On Nibiru, the waters of long life he will drink, the food of long life eat. Like one of us, Anunnaki shall the one of earth become. So was Enlil to Enki and the other leaders, saying. By the decision of Anu, Enki too was not pleased. Sullen was his face after Anu had spoken. After Enlil had spoken, with Enlil his brother Enki agreed. Indeed, who of this would have thought? So to the others did Enki say. The brothers sat and contemplated. Ninmah with them was also deliberating. The command of Anu cannot be avoided to them, she said. Let Adapa by our young ones to Nibiru be accompanied, his fright to diminish, to Anu things explain. So did Enki to the others say. Let Ningishzida and Dumuzi his companions be. By the way, Nibiru for the first time with their eyes also see. By Ninmah was the suggestion favored. Our young ones, on earth born, of Nibiru are forgetting. Its life cycles by those of earth are overwhelmed. Let the two sons of Enki, as yet unmarried, to Nibiru also travel. Perchance brides there for themselves they shall find. When the next celestial chamber from Nibiru did arrive in Sippar, Ilabrat, a vizier of Anu, from the chamber stepped off. I have come to fetch the earthling Adapa, so to the leaders he said. The leaders to Ilabrat Adapa presented. Titi and her sons to him they also showed.
Yep, there definitely were other people, Jen. As this is revealing, there were literally millions of other Homo sapiens at the time.
Indeed, in our image and after our likeness they are, so did Ilabrat say. To Ilabrat, Ningishzida and Dumuzi, sons of Enki, were presented. To accompany Adapa on his journey they have been selected to him, Enki said. Anu, his grandchildren to see, will be pleased, so did Ilabrat say. To hear instructions, Enki Adapa to him summoned. To Adapa thus he said, Adapa, to Nibiru, the planet whence we had came, you will be going. Before Anu, our king, you will come. To his majesty you will be presented. Before him you shall bow, speak only when asked, to questions short answers give. New clothing you will be given, the new garments put on. A bread on earth not found they to you will give. The bread is death, do not eat.
So this guy lying to Adapa, okay, he knows that this bread is going to give Adapa long life or eternal life, as we like to call it here on earth. So he's telling him, do not eat of the bread and do not drink of the wine.
In a chalice, an elixir to drink, they too will give you. The elixir is death, do not drink. With you, Ningazida and Dumuzi, my sons, will journey. To their words hearken, and you shall live. So did Enki Adapa instruct. This I shall remember, Adapa said. Enki, Ningazida, and Dumuzi summoned. To them a blessing and advice he gave. Before Anu the king, my father, you are coming. To him you shall bow and homage pay. By princes and nobles do not be coward, of them you are the equals. To bring Adapa back to earth is your mission. By Nibiru's delights be not charmed. This we shall remember, Ningazida and Dumuzi said. His young one, Dumuzi, Enki embraced. On the forehead he kissed him. The wise one, Ningazida, Enki embraced. On the forehead he kissed him. A sealed tablet in the hand of Ningazida unseen he placed. To my father Anu this tablet in secret you shall give. So did Enki to Ningazida say. Then the two with Adapa to Sipper departed. To the place of the celestial chariots they went. To Ilibrat, Anu's vizier, the three of them themselves presented. To Ningazida and Dumuzi the garb of Igigi was given. Like celestial eagles they were dressed. As for Adapa, his unkept hair was shaven, a helmet as that of an eagle he was given. Instead of his loincloth, a tight-fitting vestment he was made to wear. Between Ningazida and Dumuzi, inside that which ascends he was placed. When the signal was given, the celestial chariot roared and shuddered. In fright did Adapa cower and cry out, the eagle without wings is soaring. Upon his sides, Ningazida and Dumuzi, their arms placed.
If you notice the metaphoric descriptions, you know what I mean? Even the guy saying, the eagle without wings is soaring. You know what I mean? It's just funny.
With soothing words they him calmed. When 1 league aloft they were borne, upon the earth they glanced out. Its lands they saw by seas and oceans into parts separated. When 2 leagues aloft they were, the ocean to a tub grew smaller. The land was the size of a basket. When 3 leagues aloft they were, again they cast a glance whence they had departed. The earth was now as small as a ball, by a sea of darkness in the vastness swallowed. Once again Adapa agitated was. He cowered and cried out. Take me back, he shouted. Ningazida his hand on the neck of Adapa put. In an instant was Adapa quiet. When
So you have to give him a hug to calm him down.
they on Nibiru landed, there was much curiosity. The children of Enki on earth born to see, even more so an earthling to encounter. A being from another world on Nibiru has arrived. So were the crowds shouting. With Ilibrat to the palace they were taken to be washed and with perfumed oils anointed. Fresh and befitting garments they were given. Heeding Enki's words, Adapa the new clothing did put on. In the place nobles and heroes milled about. In the throne room princes and counselors gathered. To the throne room by Ilibrat they were led. Adapa behind him, then the 2 sons of Enki. In the throne room before Anu the king they bowed. From his throne Anu stepped forward. My grandsons, he cried out. He hugged Dumuzi and he hugged Ningazida. With tears in his eyes he embraced them. He kissed them.
Thanks for the support, to be known.
To his right, Dumuzi, he bade to be seated. On his left, Ningazida sat. Then Ilibrat to Anu the earthling Adapa presented. Does he our speech understand? Anu the king of Ilibrat inquired. Indeed he does. By the Lord Enki was he taught, Ilibrat so answered. Come hither, Anu to Adapa said. What is your name and your occupation? Forward Adapa stepped. Again he bowed. Adapa is my name, of the Lord Enki a servant. So did Adapa in words speak. His speaking great amazement was causing. A wonder of wonders on earth has been attained, Anu declared. A wonder of wonders on earth has been attained, all the assembled shouted. Let there a celebration be. Let us our guests thus welcome, Anu was saying. To the banquet room Anu all who were assembled led. To the laden tables he happily gestured. At the laden table bread of Nibiru Adapa was offered. He did not eat it. At the laden tables elixir of Nibiru Adapa was offered. He did not drink it.
So, see, after being tricked, He's now refusing what would have given him eternal life, bro. Like, bro, this is just a whole messed up story of bro.
By this, Anu the king was puzzled, was offended. Why has Enki to Nibiru this ill-mannered earthling sent? To him the celestial ways reveal. Come now, Adapa, to Adapa Anu said. Why did you neither eat nor drink our hospitality rejected?
Biblically speaking, Jen, yes, you could say one of the fallen angels, but technically speaking, they're not really angels and they weren't really fallen.
My master, the Lord Enki, commanded me, the bread do not eat, the elixir do not drink. So did Adapa the king Anu answer. How odd is this thing, Anu was saying, for what has Enki from an earthling our food and elixir prevented? He asked Illibrat. He asked Dumuzi. Illibrat the answer knew not. Dumuzi could not explain. He asked Ningazida. Perchance in this lies the answer, Ningazida to Anu said. The secret tablet that he carried hidden to Anu the king he then gave. Puzzled was Anu. Anu was concerned. To his private chamber he went, the tablet to decipher. Now this is the account of Adapa, of civilized mankind the progenitor, and how his sons Cain and Abel satiation on earth was started.
Alright, so let me break it down for you, Jen. Enki, Enlil, Dumuzi, and all of them, they're all from this planet called Nibiru. They weren't angels and they weren't fallen. They came to Earth intentionally seeking gold because the legends on their planet points to the fact that there's gold to be found on Earth. And then gold is a very rare element on their planet. They were here looking for gold, trying to save their atmosphere because they found that breaking down into its monoatomic particles would help to repair the damages caused in their atmosphere. After being here for approximately 250,000 years, right, they found out the laborers from their planet started, saying, hey, look, we can't manage the work anymore because y'all promised us a whole bunch of shit and nobody delivering on what they're promising, right? So they came together, Enki, Anu, Enlil, Ningizida, and all of them. They came together and decided, you know what? Let's fashion a new being to take up all the heavy work for us. So instead of having workers back and forth from Nibiru, we can, just produce workers here on Earth. At the time, they took what we know as the Homo erectus, which was already in existence, and they did genetic mutation to create the Homo sapien. Now, the Homo sapiens, they started mating when Enki mated with the Homo sapiens, that created Adapa, right? And now Adapa is gonna learn the whole civilized man scenario, basically. So that's a high level overview of how they're not angels and they're not fallen. If you basically they are beings that look like us in a lot of ways, except for the areas in the genitalia.
In his private chamber, Anu, the tablet's seal broke open. Into the scanner the tablet he inserted, it message from Enki to decipher.
There were not beings with planets, there were not beings with wings to be known. They actually had the technology to travel between planets. They're the ones who brought technology to Earth.
Adapa, by my seed, to an earthling woman was born, so did the message from Enki say.
You're welcome, Jen. I spent a lot of years in the Bible as well. And then the first thing that woke me up was a book called Kebra Negas, or Kebra Nagas, that speaks about the lineage the whole King David lineage. And then from there, I started digging into a whole lot of things. You're all welcome, you know what I mean? So again, they're not beings with wings. They just have the technologies similar to what we have now, but a lot more advanced.
Likewise was Titi by another earthling woman of my seed conceived. With wisdom and speech they are endowed. With Nibiru's long lifetime they are not. The bread of long living he should not eat. The elixir of long life he should not drink. To live and die on earth Adapa must return. Mortality his lot must be. By the sowing and shepherding by his offspring on earth satiation shall be.
When they came here to be known, all the animals were already here. There was already fish in the sea. There was already snakes in the swamps. There was already fruits on the trees and all of that. That is how they survived here in the first place. So, and if we follow the story all the way back, Nibiru, their planet, was the first in our solar system to have what is called the seed of life. In its initial encounter with the progenitor of Earth, which was called Tiamat, or what modern science called Thea, that's when Nibiru actually shared the seed of life with Earth, according to this book. So I'd encourage, you know what, I'll try to go ahead and get the full thing uploaded. The full thing uploaded so you guys can watch it in its entirety without my commentary. It's called the Planet X now in science. Science now calls it Planet X or Planet 9. But this book calls it Nibiru.
So did Enki the secret of Adapa to his father Anu reveal. By the secret message from Enki, Anu was astounded. Whether to angry be or laugh he knew not. Ilabrat, his vizier, to his private chamber he summoned. To him he thus said, That son of mine, Ea, even as Enki his free ways with females has not mended. To Ilabrat, his vizier, the message on the tablet he showed. What are the rules? What is the king to do? Of his vizier Anu inquired. Concubines by our rules are permitted. Of interplanetary cohabitation no rules exist. So did Ilabrat to his king respond. If damage there be, let it be restricted. Let Adapa forthwith to earth be returned. Let Ningazita and Dumuzi longer stay.
It's called Kebra Negas. Kebra Nega. In fact, I'll find the link and drop it in the chat. Give me a minute.
Anu then Ningazita to his private chamber summoned. Know you what your father's message said? Of Ningazita he inquired. Ningazita, his head lowered, with whispering voice he said, I know not, but guess I can. Anu said, Adapa to earth forthwith shall return. To be of civilized man a progenitor his destiny shall be. As for you, Ningazita, to earth with Adapa you shall return. Of civilized man at your father's side to become the teacher. So did Anu the king the decision make. The destiny of Adapa and Ningazita he determined. To the assembled savants and nobles, princes and counselors Anu and the other two returned. To the assembled words of decision Anu announced. The welcome of the earthling must not be overextended. On our planet he cannot eat or drink. Of his astounding abilities we have all seen, let him to earth return. Let his offspring there on earth fields till and in meadows shepherd. To ensure his safety and avoid his agitation, Ningazita with him back will travel. With him the seeds of Nibiru of grains which multiply to earth will be sent. Dumuzi, the youngest, for a shar with us shall stay. Then to earth with ewes and the essence of sheep he shall return. This was the decision of Anu. To the king's words all in agreement their head bowed. At the appointed time Ningazita and Adapa to the place of the celestial chariot were taken. Anu and Dumuzi, Ilabrat and counselors, nobles and heroes to them farewell bade. There was roaring and shuddering, and the chariot was lofted. The planet Nibiru grew smaller they saw, then from horizon to zenith the heavens they saw. On their journey Ningazita to Adapa the planet gods explained. Of sun and earth, or arid the moon to him lessons he gave. Of how the months chase one another, and how earth's year is counted, him he taught. When to earth they returned, to his father Enki, Ningazida all that had happened related. Enki laughed and struck his loins. It all went as I expected with glee, he said. Except the detention of Dumuzi. That is a puzzle, so did Enki say. By the prompt return of Ningazida and Adapa, Enlil was greatly puzzled. What is the matter? What on Nibiru transpired of Enki and Ningazida, he inquired. Let Ninmah too be summoned. Let her too of what transpired here, Enki to him said. After Ninmah arrived, to Enlil and to her Ningazida all did tell. Enki, his cohabitation with the earthling females, also related. No rules have I broken, our satiation I have ensured, so Enki to them said. No rules did you break? The fates of Anunnaki and earthlings by a rash deed you determined, so did Enlil in anger say. Now the lot is cast, destiny by fate is overtaken. With fury was Enlil seized, with anger he turned and left them standing. To Eridu Marduk came, by his mother Damkina was he summoned. The odd ongoings to verify of his father and brother he demanded. To keep the secret from Marduk hidden father and brother decided. Anu by the civilized man was enthralled, to at once all on earth satiate he commanded. So they to Marduk only part of the truth revealed. By Adapa and Titi Marduk was impressed, to the boys he took a liking. While Ningazida Adapa is instructing, let me the boys' teacher be, so did Marduk to his father Enki and Enlil say. Let Marduk teach one, let Ninurta teach the other, to them Enlil responded. In Eridu, Ningazida with Adapa, and Titi stayed numbers and writing Adapa he taught. The twin who was first in birth, Ninurta to Bad Tibera his city took. Cain, he who in the field food grows, he called him. To dig canals for watering he taught. Sowing and reaping he was teaching. A plow from the wood of trees Ninurta for Cain made, with it a tiller of the land to be. The other brother, son of Adapa, by Marduk to the meadows was taken. Abel, he of the watered meadows, his name was thereafter called. How to build stalls Marduk him taught, for shepherding to start, the return of Dumuzi they awaited. When the Shar was completed, Dumuzi to earth returned. The essence, seed of sheep, used for the growing, with him he brought. Four-legged animals of Nibiru to another planet, the earth, he conveyed. His return with essence seed and use was cause for much celebration. Into the care of his father Enki, Dumuzi with his precious cargo returned. The leaders then got together how to proceed with the new breed they considered. Never before was there a ewe on earth. A lamb has never to earth from the heavens been dropped. A she-goat has never before to her kid given birth. Weaving of sheep's wool has never before been established. The Anunnaki leaders, Enki and Enlil, Ninmah and Ningazida, who the creators were, a creation chamber, a house of fashioning to establish, decided. Upon the pure mound of the landing place in the Cedar Mountains it was established.
So, as it stated, the Anunnaki leaders, Enki and Enlil, Ninmah and Ningazida, these were the ones who created the Homo sapiens from the Homo erectus. They did that through genetic modification, guys. Genetic modification.
Near where the elixir
And I'm still grabbing that link, Jen. Give me a minute.
Seeds by Ninmah brought were planted, there was the creation chamber established. There was the multiplying of the grains and of the ewes on earth begun. Of Cain for sowing and reaping Ninurta was the mentor. Of Abel the arts of ewe and lamb rearing and shepherding Marduk was the mentor. When the first crops were reaped, when the first sheep matured, let there be a celebration of first, Enlil a decree proclaimed. Before the assembled Anunnaki the first grains, the first lambs were presented. At the feet of Enlil and Enki, Cain, by Ninurta guided, his offering placed. At the feet of Enlil and Enki, Abel, by Marduk guided, his offering placed. Enlil to the brothers gave a joyful blessing, their labors he extolled. Enki his son Marduk embraced. The lamb for all to see he raised. Meat for eating, wool for wearing, to earth have come, Enki said. Now this is the account of the generations of Adappa, and the killing of Abel by Cain, and what thereafter transpired. After the celebration of first was over, sullen was Cain's face. By the lack of Enki's blessing greatly he was aggrieved. As to their task the brothers returned. Abel before his brother was boasting, I am the one who abundance brings, who the Anunnaki satiates, who gives strength to the heroes, who wool for their clothing provides. Cain by his brother's words was offended. To his boasting strongly he objected. It is I who the plain luxuriates, who furrows with grains makes heavy, in whose fields birds multiply, in whose canals fish become abundant. Sustaining bread by me is produced, with fish and fowl the Anunnaki diet I variate. On and on the twin brothers each other disputed. Through the winter time they argued. When summer began it was not raining, the meadows were dry, the pastures dwindled. Into the fields of his brother Abel his flocks drove, from the furrows and the canals to drink water. By this Cain was angered. To move the flocks away his brother he commanded. Farmer and shepherd, brother and brother, words of accusation uttered. They sped on each other, with their fists they fought. Greatly enraged, Cain a stone picked up. With it he Abel in the head struck. Again and again he hit him until Abel fell, his blood from him gushing. When Cain his brother's blood saw, Abel, Abel, my brother, he shouted. Motionless on the ground did Abel remain, from him his soul had departed. By the brother whom he had killed, Cain remained. For a long time he sat crying. Titi it was who of the killing was the first to know by a premonition. In a dream vision, as she was sleeping, Abel's blood she saw, in the hand of Cain it was. Adappa from his sleep she awakened, her dream vision to him she told. A heavy sorrow fills my heart, did something terrifying happen? So did Titi to Adappa say, greatly agitated she was. In the morning the two from Eridu departed, to the whereabouts of Cain and Abel they went. In the field they found Cain, by the dead Abel he was still seated.
Yep, that's correct, Jen. They made us in a lab. So yes, indeed, we are the product of genetic manipulation. I mean, yes, they are our creators. Doesn't mean they are the creators of all. You know what I mean? So they don't deserve our praise or any of that stuff. Doesn't make us any less significant than they are. You know what I mean? Of course, we appreciate the fact that we're no longer grunting and covered in hair all over. You know what I mean? But again, they could have at least allowed us to take part, to partake in that bread and that elixir, don't you think? In my opinion. That, I mean, if they had allowed us to get the bread and the wine that time, then I wouldn't have any qualms with them. I would definitely give them the praise, right? Yep. Yes, to be known, they did indeed know. Well, they did indeed plan on us being their servants. They gave us the knowledge and all that stuff. They wanted us to be their servants forever. I mean, in essence, we're still their servants at the moment, because where's all the gold going? Think about it.
A great cry of agony, Titi shouted. Adappa spread mud on his head. What have you done? What have you done? To Cain they shouted. Silence was Cain's answer. To the ground he threw himself and wept. To Eridu city Adappa returned. What had happened to the Lord Enki he told. With fury Enki Cain confronted. Accursed you shall be, to him he said. From the Eden you must depart. Among Anunnaki and civilized earthlings you shall not stay. As to Abel in the fields, his body cannot for the wild birds remain. As the Anunnaki custom is, he in a grave below a stone pile shall be buried. How Abel to bury Enki to Adappa and Titi showed, for the custom to them was not known. For 30 days and 30 nights was Abel by his parents mourned. To Eridu for judgment Cain was brought, the exile sentence to pronounce Enki wished. For his deed Cain himself must be slain, so did Marduk with anger say. Let the 7 who judge be assembled, so did Ninurta of Cain the mentor say. Whoever of such an assembling ever heard, Marduk shouted, that for one not from the Nibiru Anunnaki leaders shall to judge be called? Is it not enough that one by Ninurta mentored, the one by me favored has killed? Is it not that as Ninurta Anzu did vanquish, so did Cain against his brother rise? Like the fate of Anzu, Cain's fate should be. His life breath should be extinguished. So did Marduk in anger to Enki, Enlil, and Ninurta say.
Now you see why he was running away. He was worried, Jen, that he was gonna be killed, right? Because it was literally a whole jury brought against him, so he's really being judged, like literally being judged in front of a jury and everything.
Ninurta, by the words of Marduk, was saddened. Silence, not words, his answer was. Let me with Marduk my son words in private have to them, Enki said. When in Enki's private chambers he and Marduk were, my son, to Marduk Enki softly spoke, your agony is great. Let us not agony with agony compound. A secret that on my heart has heavily emburdened me, let me to you tell. Once upon a time, as by the river I strolled, 2 earthland maidens my face caught. By them from my seed were Adapa and Titi conceived. A new kind of earthling, a civilized man, by that upon the earth was brought. Whether they to procreate were able, our king Anu in doubt was. By the birth of Cain and Abel were Anu and the council on Nibiru convinced. A new phase of Anunnaki presence on this planet was welcomed and approved. Now that Abel has been slain, and if Cain too shall be extinguished, satiation to an end would come, mutinies will be repeated, all that was achieved shall crumble. No wonder that to Abel a liking you took, the son of your half-brother he was. Now on the other one have pity, let the line of Adapa survive. So did Enki with sadness a secret to Marduk his son reveal. By the revelation Marduk was at first astounded, then by laughter he was overcome. Of your love-making prowess much to me was rumored, now of that I am convinced. Indeed, let Cain's life be spared to the ends of the earth, let him be banished. So did Marduk, from anger to laughter changing to his father say. In Eridu judgment upon Cain by Enki was pronounced. Eastward to a land of wandering for his evil deed Cain must depart. That his life must be spared, he and his generations shall be distinguished. By Ningazita was the life essence of Cain altered. That his face a beard should not grow, Cain's life essence Ningazita changed. With his sister Awan, a spouse, Cain from the Eden departed. To the land of wandering he set his course. Now the Anunnaki set and among themselves wondered. Without Abel, without Cain, who shall for us the grains grow and bread make?
So now they banished Cain from Eden. They banished Cain, altered his genes so that he does not grow a beard, right? I dropped the link to the Kebra Negas in the chat, Jen. So it's an Amazon link. You can, partake when you're ready. Thank you.
Who shall be the shepherd, the ewes multiply, wool for clothing provide? Let by Adapa and Titi more proliferation be, so did the Anunnaki say. With the blessing of Enki, Adapa his spouse Titi knew again and again. One daughter, another daughter, each time again and again were born. In the 95th Shar, a son Adapa and Titi finally had. Sati, he who life binds again, Titi he named. By him were the generations of Adapa counted. In all, 30 sons and 30 daughters Adapa and Titi had.
Seti, or Sati, is also called Seth in ancient Egypt.
Of them tillers of the land and shepherds for the Anunnaki toiled. By them did satiation to Anunnaki and civilized earthlings come back. In the 97th Shar, to Sati a son by his spouse Azura was born. By the name Enki in the annals he was recorded. Master of humanity meant his name. By Adapa his father writing in numbers he was made to understand. And who the Anunnaki were and all about Nibiru by Adapa Enki was told. To Nibru-Ki by the sons of Enlil he was taken, secrets of the Anunnaki him they taught. How the perfumed oils for anointing Nanar, Enlil's on earth the eldest, him showed. How the elixir from the Enbu fruits to prepare Ishkur, Enlil's youngest, him instructed. It was since then that by civilized man the Anunnaki lords were called, and of the rites of worship of the Anunnaki that the beginning was. Thereafter to Enki by his sister Nome a son was born. Cunin, he of the kilns, his name had the meaning. For by Ninurta in Bad Tibera he was tutored, of furnace and kiln there he learned. How with bitumens fires to make, how to smelt and refine he was taught.
Of course, Jen, definitely. I mean, we're not here to indoctrinate or try to shatter one's belief. You know what I mean? Yeah, the link is to the book, the Kebra Negas. Basically, what I learned reading this book, and you're gonna hit on that as well. The entire religious system as we know it was created by Marduk, because he was rebelling against Enlil and Enki, because he didn't get to inherit the earth or anything like that. So you're welcome. You know what I mean? So that's what it's all about. I mean, I was religious myself. You know what I mean? I grew up in the church, was a child preacher, lead singer in the children choir. You know what I mean? I was also one of the, what do you call that? Where we go out and minister to people after church on Saturdays and stuff like that. I forget the term we normally use for that. But I did a lot in that aspect as well. So, you know what I mean? I know exactly where you at. And only the truth will set us free. That's all I can say.
In the smelting and refining of gold for Nibiru he and his offspring toiled. In the 98th Shar did this matter come about. Now this is the account of the generations of Adapa after Cain was exiled, and the heavenly journeys of Enki and the death of Adapa. In the 99th Shar to Cunin a son was born. By Mulet, a half-sister of Cunin, he was conceived. Malelu, he who plays, she named him. In music and song he excelled. For him Ninurta a stringed harp made, a flute for him he shaped. Hymns to Ninurta Malelu played, with his daughters before Ninurta they sang. The spouse of Malelu, the daughter of his father's brother, was Dunna, was her name. In the 100th Shar, since the count on earth had begun, a son of Malelu and Dunna was born, their firstborn he was. Irid, he of the sweet waters, his mother Dunna him named. Him Demuzi how wells to dig had taught, for flocks in distant meadows water to provide. It was there, by the wells in the meadows, that shepherds and maidens gathered, where espousing and proliferation by civilized mankind exceedingly abounded.
By the wells, right? Sounds familiar. Wasn't it by the well where the story about Jesus and the and the prostitute, wasn't it by the well?
In his days the Igigi to earth were more frequently coming. To observe and see from the heavens they increasingly abandoned. To watch and see what on earth was transpiring they increasingly desired.
So this is the part where you can see these guys with all the knowledge and stuff. They're basically passing on their knowledge to the earthlings that they created after expelling Cain from the Garden of Eden. You know what I mean? After expelling Cain, and Abel was already dead, so there's nobody to do anything. So they now have to start teaching everybody everything.
To be with them on the Mu, Enki Marduk beseeched. To watch and see what on earth was transpiring, Marduk more fervently wished. At a well in the meadows did Irid his spouse meet. Baraka was her name, the daughter of his mother's brother she was. At the conclusion of the 102nd Shar, a son to them was born. By the name Enki, by Enki understanding in the annals he was called. Wise and intelligent he was, numbers he quickly understood.
Of course, Jen, of course. Definitely. See, here's my thing on religion. After finding out that religion was a coup, I realized that, hey, the creator of all is none of these names that we have been given. It's none of these religions that we have been given, right? The creator of all is the source of the time, space, energy, frequency, and vibration that creates this existence that we are enjoying. The better way to put it is to just say the all, basically. You know what I mean? So that's my take on the whole religion.
About the heavens and all matters celestial he was constantly curious. To him the Lord Enki took a liking. Secrets once to Adapa revealed to him he told. Of the family of the sun and the 12 celestial gods Enki him was teaching, and how the months by the moon were counted and the years by the sun, and how by Nibiru the stars were counted, and how the counts by Enki were combined, how the Lord Enki the circle of the heavens to 12 parts divided, a constellation to each one how Enki assigned, 12 stations in a grand circle he arranged, how to honor the 12 Anunnaki great leaders by names the stations were called. To explore the heavens Enki was eager, 2 celestial journeys he did make.
Let's read this again. About the heavens and all matters celestial he was constantly curious. To him the Lord Enki took a liking. Secrets once to Adapa revealed to him he told. Of the family of the sun, the 12 celestial gods. These are the 12 bodies in our solar system, right? Taught them all about that.
And this is the account of Enki's journeys to the heavens, and how the Igigi troubles and intermarriages by Marduk were started. To be with Marduk in the landing place Enki was sent. From there Marduk in a rocket ship to the moon did him take. There what Marduk from his father Enki had learned to Enki he did teach. When to earth Enki returned to be with Utu in Sippar, the place of the chariots, he was sent. There a tablet for writing what he was learning by Utu to Enki was given. Utu in his bright abode a prince of earthlings him installed. The rites him he taught, the functions of priesthood to begin. In Sippar, with his spouse Adina, a half-sister Enki resided. To them in the 104th Shar a son was born, Methuselah, his mother him named.
Methuselah in the Bible.
Who by the bright waters raised the name meant. It was after that Enki on his second journey to the heavens went. This time, too, Marduk was his mentor and companion.
And Enki, guys, is basically Enoch, okay?
In a celestial chariot heavenward they soared, toward the sun, and away from it they circled. To visit the Igigi on Lamu by Marduk he was taken. To him the Igigi a liking took. Of civilized earthlings from him they learned. Of him it is in the annals said that to the heavens he departed, that in the heavens he stayed till the end of his days.
All right. In the annals it says in the heavens he stayed, and isn't that the story of who? Enoch, right? The one who was taken up into the heavens by the angels who taught him all the workings of the celestial bodies and all that stuff and told him to write it down.
Before Enki for the heavens departed, all that in the heavens he was taught. In writings Enki a record made, for his sons to know he wrote it. All that is in the heavens, in the family of the sun he wrote down, and about the quarters of the earth and its lands and its rivers too. To the hands of Methuselah, his firstborn son, the writings he entrusted. With his brothers Ragam and Gadid to study and abide by, in the 104th Shar was Methuselah born. To the Igigi troubles and what Marduk had done he was a witness. By his spouse Edna a son to Methuselah was born, Lumok. Mighty man was his name. In his days conditions on earth became harsher. The toilers in the field and meadow raised complaints.
And this story is in the Bible, guys. The story of Methuselah and Lamech is what they call him in the Bible.
As a workmaster, the Anunnaki Lumok appointed the quotas to enforce, the rations to reduce. In his days it was that Adapa his death time attained. And when Adapa knew that his days to an end were coming, Let all my sons and sons of sons assemble themselves to me, he said, that before I die I may bless them, and words to them speak before I die. And when Sati and the sons of the sons had gathered, Where is Cain, my firstborn? Adapa of them all asked. Let him be fetched to them all, he said. Before the Lord Enki, Sati his father's wish presented. What to be done of the Lord, he asked. Enki then Ninurta summoned. Let the banished one, of whom the mentor you were, to Adapa's deathbed be brought. In his bird of heaven, Ninurta betook himself. To the land of wandering he flew. Over the lands he roamed. From the skies for Cain he searched. And when he found him, like on eagle's wings, Cain to Adapa he brought. When of his son's arrival Adapa was informed, Let Cain and Sati before me come, Adapa said. Before their father the two came, Cain the firstborn on the right, Sati on the left. And the eyesight of Adapa having failed, for recognition his sons' faces he touched. And the face of Cain on the right was beardless, and the face of Sati on the left with beard was.
Sounds a lot familiar, like another biblical story, right?
And
when the father on his deathbed is about to divide the spoils, and the woman trying to deceive him to give the wrong son the spoils.
Adapa put his right hand on the head of Sati, the one on the left, and he blessed him and said, Of your seed shall the earth be filled. And of your seed as a tree with 3 branches, mankind a great calamity shall survive. And he put his left hand on the head of Cain on his right, and to him said, For your sin of your birthright you are deprived, but of your seed 7 nations shall come. In a realm set apart they shall thrive, distant lands they shall inhabit. But having your brother with a stone killed, by a stone will be your end. And when Adapa finished these words saying, his hands dropped, and he sighed and said, Now summing my spouse Titi, and all the sons and all the daughters. And after my spirit leaves me, to my birthplace by the river carry me. And with my face toward the rising sun there bury me. Like a wounded beast, Titi cried out. To her knees by Adapa's side she fell. And the 2 sons of Adapa, Cain and Sati, in a cloth his body wrapped. In a cave by the banks of the river, by Titi shown, Adapa they buried. In the midst of the 93rd Shar was he born. By the end of the 108th he died.
So what we're deciphering here, the biblical Adam is this guy called Adapa. Okay? If you think about what he's been through since his birth and all this stuff, the biblical Adam, the father of Cain and Abel, is this guy Adapa.
A long life for an earthling he had. The life cycle of Enki he did not have. And after Adapa was buried, Cain to his mother and brother farewell bade. Ninurta in his bird of heaven to the land of wandering him he returned. And in a distant realm Cain had sons and daughters, and he from them a city built. And as he was building, by a falling stone he was killed. In the Eden, Lumok, as a workmaster the Anunnaki served. In the days of Lumok did Marduk and the Agigi with earthlings intermarry.
Alright, there you have it. In the days of Lamech, what happened? The Anunnaki and the earthlings were intermarried. So without further ado, we're going to dive right into the next tablet, because this story is about to get really, really spicy. Now we're going to learn about the giants, the fallen angels, where they came from, when they came and took earthlings for wives and all that stuff. Again, as I stated earlier in this, they're not really angels and they're not really fallen. And we're going to see that up in the next tablet without hesitation.
Synopsis of the 9th tablet. Mankind proliferates. Adapa's line serves as royalty. Defying Enlil, Marduk espouses an earthling female. Celestial disturbances and climate changes affect Lamu. The Igigi descend to Earth, sees Earthling females as wives. The promiscuous Enki begets a human son, Sasudra. Droughts and pestilences cause suffering on Earth. Enlil sees it as fated retribution, wants to return home. Ninmah, aged by Earth's cycles, also wants to return. A mystery emissary warns them not to defy their destiny. Signs increase of a coming calamitous deluge. Most Anunnaki begin to depart back to Nibiru. Enlil enforces a plan to let mankind perish. Enki and Ninmah start to preserve Earth's seeds of life. The remaining Anunnaki prepare for the day of the deluge. Nergal, lord of the lower world, is to issue the warning.
This is the flood.
In the days of Lumak did Marduk and the Igigi with earthlings intermarry. In those days on Earth the hardships were increasing. In those days on Lamu, with dryness and dust was the planet enveloped. The Anunnaki who decreed the fates, Enlil and Enki and Ninmah with each other consulted. What conditions on Earth and on Lamu were altering they wondered. On the sun flarings they observed, in the net forces of Earth and Lamu there were disruptions. In the Abzu, at the tip of the white land facing instruments far observing they is installed. In the charge of Nergal, the son of Enki and his spouse Irish Kigal, the instruments were put. To the land beyond the seas Ninurta was assigned, in the mountain land a band heaven and earth to establish. On Lamu the Igigi were restless, to pacify them Marduk was the task given. Until what are the hardships causing, the way station on Lamu must be kept, so to Marduk the leaders said. The three who the fates decree with each other consulted. They looked at each other. How old the others are, each one of the others thought. Enki, who the death of Adapa was grieving, was the first one to speak. More than 100 shars since my arrival has passed to his brother and sister, he said. I was then a dashing leader, now bearded, tired, and old I am. An enthusiastic hero I was, for command and adventure ready, Enlil then said. Now I have children who have children, all on earth born. Old on earth we became, but those on earth born are even older sooner. So did Enlil to his brother and sister ruefully say. As for me, an old sheep they call me, so did Ninmah wistfully say. While the others have been coming and going, turns on earth to serve taking, we the leaders have stayed and stayed. Perchance it is time to leave, so did Enlil say. Of that did I often wonder to them, Enki was saying. Each time one of us three to revisit Nibiru wished, word from Nibiru always our coming thereto prevented. Of that I too did wonder, Enlil was saying. Is it a thing on Nibiru, a thing on earth? Perchance the life cycles that differ it concerns, so was Ninmah saying. To watch and see what transpires the leaders decided. At that time fate, or was it destiny? In its hands the matters took. For it came to pass that soon thereafter Marduk to his father Enki came, a matter of gravity with his father Enki to discuss he wished. Upon the earth the three sons of Enlil spouses have chosen. Ninurta Ba'u of Anu, a young daughter, he espoused. Nanar has chosen Ningal, Ishkar Shala has taken. By Nergal your son Irish Kigal of Enlil's a granddaughter as a spouse was taken. By threats to kill her, her consent from her was extracted. To await my espousal, being your firstborn, Nergal did not await. The other four in deference my espousal are awaiting. A bride I wish to choose, to have a spouse it is my desire. So did Marduk to his father Enki say. Your words happy make me, Enki to Marduk was saying. Your mother too shall rejoice. To hold his words to Enki, Marduk with a raised hand to his father motioned. Is she one of the young ones who heal and succor give? Enki went on to ask. A descendant of Adapa she is, of earth, not Nibiru is she, Marduk softly whispered.
So
with a puzzled look, Enki was speechless. Then uncontrolled words he shouted. A prince of Nibiru, a firstborn to succession, entitled an earthling will espouse? Not an earthling, but your own offspring, to him Marduk said. A daughter of Enkimi, who to heaven was taken she is. Sarpanit is her name. Enki, his spouse Ninki, summoned. To her what with Marduk transpired he related. To Ninki his mother, Marduk his heart's desire repeated and said, with Enki with me was journeying, and of heaven and earth him I was teaching. What my father once had said, I with my own eyes witnessed. Step by step on this planet a primitive being, one like us to be, we have created. In our image and in our likeness, civilized earthling is, except for the long life, he is we. A daughter of Enki my fancy caught, her to espouse I wish. Ninki.
So now you can see, again, they're not angels, they're not fallen, but now they're deliberating on taking earthling women for wives.
Her son's words pondered. And the maiden, does she your gaze appreciate? So did she, Marduk ask. Indeed she does, Marduk to his mother said. This is not the matter to consider, Enki with a raised voice said. If our son this shall do, to Nibiru with his spouse he would never go. His princely rights on Nibiru he forever will forsake. To this Marduk with a bitter laughter responded, my rights on Nibiru are non-existent. Even on earth my rights as firstborn have been trampled. This indeed is my decision. From prince a king on earth become the master of this planet. Let it so be, Ninki said. Let it so be, Enki also said. They summoned Methuselah, the bride's brother, of Marduk's wish they him told. Humbled, but with joy overwhelmed Methuselah was. Let it so be, he said. When of the decision Enlil was told, with fury he was seized. It was one thing for the father with earthlings intercourse have. It is another matter for the son an earthling to espouse, lordship on her to bestow. When Nimma of the matter was told, greatly disappointed she was. Marduk any maiden of ours could espouse.
So Enlil mad now, saying, yo, you're gonna marry an earthling to bring her into lordship? Like, really? You're gonna make an earthling a royalty?
Even from my own daughters by Enki he could choose. Half-sisters, as the royal custom he could espouse, so did Nimma say. With fury to Anu on Nibiru of the matter words beamed up. Too far has this behavior gone, it cannot be allowed to Anu, the king Enlil said. On Nibiru Anu the counselors summoned, the matter with urgency to discuss. In the rule books of such a matter, no rule they found.
So there's no rule about interplanetary marriage in the rule book.
Anu the savants also summoned, the matter's consequences to discuss. On Nibiru Adapa the maiden's progenitor could not stay, to Anu they were saying. Therefore, to return to Nibiru with her, Marduk forever must be barred. Indeed, having to earth cycles become accustomed, even without her, Marduk's return impossible it might be. So were the savants to Anu saying, with that the counselors too agreed. Let the decision to earth be beamed, Anu was saying. Marduk marry can, but on Nibiru a prince he shall no more be. The decision by Enki and Marduk was accepted. Enlil too to the word from Nibiru bowed. Let there be a wedding celebration in Eridu, let it be, Ninki to them said. In the Eden, Marduk and his bride cannot stay, Enlil the commander announced. Let us to Marduk and his bride a wedding gift make, a domain of their own, away from the Eden, in another land, so did Enki to Enlil say. Of Marduk being sent away, Enlil with consent to himself was thinking. To what land, of what domain are you speaking, Enlil to his brother Enki said. A domain above the Abzu in the land that the upper sea reaches, one that by waters from the Eden is separated, that by ships can be reached. So did Enki to Enlil say. Let it so be, Enlil said. In Eridu a wedding celebration Ninki for Marduk and Sarpanit arranged. Her people by the sound of a copper drum the ceremony announced. With 7 tambourines her sisters the bride to her spouse presented. A great multitude of civilized earthlings in Eridu assembled, like a coronation to them the wedding was. Young Anunnaki also attended, Igigi from Lamu in great numbers came. To celebrate our leader's wedding, of Nibiru and Earth a union to witness we came.
So the Igigi are basically the Anunnaki who stayed on Mars. To pick up the gold and pathway it off to Nibiru.
So did the Igigi their arrival in large numbers explain.
So they're not angels and they're not fallen.
Now this is the account of how the Igigi, the daughters of the earthlings, abducted, and how afflictions followed and Sesudra oddly was born.
And this is in the Bible, guys, with the story of Methuselah.
In a great number did the Igigi from Lamud to earth come.
If you look it up, just type Methuselah and you will find everything about this story.
Only 1/3 of them on Lamud stayed.
For a biblical reference.
To earth came 200. To be with their leader Marduk, his wedding celebration to attend was their explanation. Unbeknownst to Enki and Enlil was their secret. To abduct and have conjugation was their plot. Unbeknownst to the leaders on earth, a multitude of Igigi on Lamu got together. What to Marduk permitted is from us two should not be deprived to each other, they said. Enough of suffering and loneliness, of not offspring ever having, was their slogan. During their comings and goings between Lamu and earth, the daughters of the earthlings, the Adapite females as them they called, they saw, and after them they lusted. And to each other the plotters said, Come, let us choose wives from among the Adapite females and children beget. One among them, Shamgaz his name was, the leader became. Even if none of you agrees, I alone the deed shall do, to the others he said. If a penalty for this sin shall be imposed, I alone for all of you shall it bear.
Pause for a minute. So basically, they're on Mars not getting any pum-pum. And they're complaining, hey, look, we're on Mars not getting any pum-pum, and Marduk and his gang on Earth getting all the pum-pum, so let's go to Earth to get some pum-pum.
One by one, others in the plot joined together, by an oath together to do what they swore. By the time of Marduk's wedding, 200 of them on the landing place descended. Upon the great platform in the Cedar Mountains they came down. From there to Eridu they journeyed. Among the toiling earthlings they passed. Together with the earthling throng in Eridu they arrived. After the wedding ceremony of Marduk and Sarpanit had taken place, by a signal prearranged, Shamgaz to the others a sign gave. An earthling mating each of them the Igigi seized, by force they them abducted. To the landing place in the Cedar Mountains the Igigi with the females went. Into a stronghold the place they made, to the leaders a challenge they issued. Enough of deprivation and not having offspring, the Adapite daughters to marry we wish. Your blessing to this you must give, else by fire all on earth destroy we will. Alarmed the leaders were of Marduk, the Igigi commander, charged to take they demanded. If in the matter I a solution must seek, with the Igigi my heart in agreement is. So did Marduk to the others say.
So Marduk
what I have
agreed.
done from them cannot be deprived. Enki and Ninmah their heads shook, with begrudging agreement they voiced. Only Enlil was enraged without pacification. One evil deed by another has been followed. Fornication from Enki and Marduk the Igigi have adopted. Our pride and sacred mission to the winds have been abandoned. By our hands this planet with earthling multitudes shall be overrun. With much disgust was Enlil speaking. Let the Igigi and their females from earth depart. On Lamu, conditions unbearable have become. Surviving is not possible, so did Marduk to Enlil and Enki say. In the Eden they cannot remain, Enlil with anger shouted. With much disgust the gathering he left. In his heart things against Marduk and his earthlings was Enlil plotting. Upon the landing platform in the Cedar Mountains were the Igigi and their females secluded. Children there to them were born. Children of the rocket ships they were called. Marduk and Sarpanit, his spouse, also had children. Asar and Satu were the first two sons called. To the domain above the Abzu to him and Sarpanit granted, Marduk the Igigi invited, to dwell in the two cities that for his sons he had built. Marduk the Igigi summoned.
So Marduk summoned the Igigi to come and live in his domain.
Some of the Igigi and their offspring to the domain in the dark-hued land came. In the landing platform in the Cedar Mountains, Shamgaz and others did remain. To the far eastlands, lands of high mountains, some of their offspring went. How Marduk of earthlings his strength increases, Ninurta carefully observed. What are Enki and Marduk scheming to his father Enlil, Ninurta said. The earth by the earthlings inherited will be Enlil, to Ninurta said.
So
Go,
the
the
rebellion
offspring
building
of
up.
Cain find, with them a domain of your own prepare. To the other side of earth Ninurta went, the offspring of Cain he found. How tools to make and music to play he them taught.
Bruh, to the other side of earth, these beardless offspring of Cain is what we know as the Native Americans, guys. Those are the Native Americans. All right. So now, after observing that Marduk and Enki building up the strength of earthlings, Enlil sent Ninurta to go and gather up, start teaching the Native Americans, basically, as we know it today, how to play music and teach them art and technology and all this stuff.
In mining to engage and smelt and refine he showed them.
So
How
they
to
were the
build
last
rafts
to
of
be
balsam trees he
civilized.
showed them. To cross a great sea he them guided. In a new land a domain they established. A city with twin towers there they built.
City with twin towers, right?
A domain beyond the seas it was. The mountain land of the new bond heaven earth it was not. In the Eden, Lumok was the workmaster. Quotas to enforce was his duty.
So this kingdom was established and they had no connection with Nibiru, basically.
The earthlings' rations to reduce was his task. His spouse was Badanash, the daughter of Lumok's father's brother she was. Of a beauty outstanding she was, by her beauty was Enki charmed. Enki to his son Marduk a word did send, to your domain Lumok do summon. How by earthlings a city to build there him teach. And when Lumok to the domain of Marduk was summoned, to the household of Ninmah in Shurabak, the haven city, his spouse Badanash he brought. From the angry earthling masses protected and safe to be. Thereafter Enki, his sister Ninmah in Shurabak was quick to visit. On the roof of a dwelling when Badanash was bathing, Enki by her loins took hold, he kissed her, his semen into her womb he poured.
No, this
With
is
a child Badanash was, her belly was truly swelling. To Lumok from Shurabak word was sent, to the Eden return, a son you have. To the Eden, to Shurabak, Lumok returned, to him Badanash the sun showed. White as the snow his skin was, the color of wool was his hair. Like the skies were his eyes, in a brilliance were his eyes shining. Amazed and frightened was Lumok. To his father Methuselah he hurried. A son unlike an earthling to Badanash was born. By this birth greatly puzzled I am.
So this guy, are you deciphering what I'm deciphering here? Let me know if you're getting the same perspective here, right? Because now Enki impregnate Batanash, who is Methuselah's wife, and now Batanash not Methuselah, Lumok. So now Batanash calling Lumok, saying, "Hey, look, you have a son." When Lumok look at the son, the skin is white, eyes blue, hair red. He's like, "Wait, what? Is this my kid?"
Methuselah to Badanash came, the newborn boy he saw, by his
Let me know
likeness
if
amazed he
that's what you're
was.
getting in the comments, guys.
Is
Just
one of the
drop it in
Agigi the
comments
boy's
if
father
that's what
of
you're
Badanash
understanding.
Methuselah the truth demanded? To Lumok, your spouse, whether this boy his son is, the truth reveal. None of the Agigi is the boy's father. Of this upon my life I swear, so did Badanash him answer. To his son Lumok Methuselah then turned, a calming arm on his shoulders he put. A mystery the boy is, but in his oddness an omen to you is revealed. Unique he is, for a task unique by destiny he was chosen. What that task is I know not, in time appropriate known it shall become. So was Methuselah to his son Lumok, saying, to what on earth was transpiring he was alluding. In those days the sufferings on earth were increasing. The days colder grew, the skies their rains were holding back. fields their crops diminished, in the sheepfolds ewe lambs were few. Let the son to you born, unusual as he is, an omen be that a respite is coming. So did Methuselah to his son Lamech say, let respite be his name. To Methuselah and Lamech, Badanash her son's secret did not reveal. Sesudra, he of long bright life days, she called him, in Shurabak he was raised.
So she did not reveal the secret that, hey, this is Enki's kid and not Lamech's kid. Or, jeez, oh, peace.
Ninmah on the child her protection and affection bestowed. Of much understanding he was endowed, with knowledge he was by her provided. Enki the child greatly adored, to read the writings of Adapa he him taught. The priestly rites how to observe and perform the boy as a young man learned. In the 110th Shar was Sesudra born. In Shurabak he grew up and espoused Imzara, and she bore him 3 sons. In his days the sufferings on earth intensified, plagues and starvations the earth afflicted. Now this is the account of earth's tribulations before the deluge, and how the mysterious Galzu decisions of life and death in secret guided. By the conjugations of the Agigi and the earthling daughters was Enlil greatly disturbed. By Marduk's espousal of an earthling female, Enlil was much distraught. In his eyes the Anunnaki mission to earth had become perverted. To him the howling, shouting earthling masses an anathema became. Oppressive the pronouncements of the earthlings have become. The conjugations of sleep deprive me, so did Enlil to the other leaders say. In the days of Sesudra, plagues and pestilences the earth afflicted. Aches, dizziness, chills, fevers the earthlings overwhelmed. Let us, the earthlings, curing teach, how themselves to remedy to learn, so did Ninmah say. This by decree I forbid, Enlil to her pleas retorted. In the lands whereto the earthlings have spread, waters from their sources did not rise. The earth shut its womb, vegetation did not sprout. Let us the earthlings pond and canal building teach. Let them from the seas fish and subsistence obtain. So did Enki to the other leaders say.
So now they're going through a famine.
This by decree I forbid, Enlil to Enki said. Let the earthlings by hunger and pestilence perish.
So Enlil want the earthlings to die out, right? This is crazy.
For 1 Shar the earthlings ate the grasses of the fields. For the 2nd Shar, the 3rd Shar, the vengeance of Enlil they suffered. In Shurabak, Sesudra city, the suffering unbearable was becoming. To Eridu, Sesudra of the earthlings, a spokesman journeyed. To the house of the Lord Enki he made his way. By the name of his Lord he called. For help and salvation to him he pleaded. Enki by Enlil's decrees was bound. In those days the Anunnaki for their own surviving were concerned. Their own rations were diminished. By earth's changes they themselves afflicted became. On earth, as on Lamu, the seasons their regularity lost. For 1 Shar, for 2 Shars, from Nibiru the heavenly circuits were studied. Oddities in the planetary destinies from Nibiru were observed. On the sun's face black spots were appearing, from its face flames shot up. Kishar also was misbehaving. Its host, its footings lost. Dizzying were their circuits. The hammered bracelet was by unseen net forces pulled and pushed. For reasons unfathomed, the sun, its family, was upsetting.
So the sun is basically doing its thing with what science now know as sunspots. And basically those sunspots emit very high amount of radiation off into the solar system. And at this point, according to the story, it's affecting the entire solar system. So they're observing it from on Earth and on Nibiru and sending in reports.
The destinies of the celestials by unsavory fates were overtaken. On Nibiru the savants alarms raised, in the public squares the people gathered. The creator of all, to primordial days the heavens is returning. Angry is the creator of all, voices from amongst the people shouted. On earth the tribulations were increasing, fear and famine their heads reared. For 3 Shars, for 4 Shars, the instruments the white land facing were observed. By Nergal
Ishar is
and
where-
Irish Kigal, odd rumblings in the Whiteland's snows were recorded. The snow ice that the Whiteland covers to sliding has taken, so did they from Abzu's tip report. In the land beyond the seas, Ninurta in his haven foretelling instruments established. Quakes and jitters at the earth's bottom with the instruments he noticed. An odd matter is afoot, so did Enlil to Anu on Nibiru words of alarm send. For the 5th Shar, for the 6th Shar, the phenomenon gained strength. On Nibiru, the savants an alarm raised. Of calamities to the king they forewarnings gave. The next time Nibiru the sun shall be nearing, earth to Nibiru's net force exposed shall be. Lamu in its circuits on the sun's other side shall a station take. From the net force of Nibiru, earth in the heavens protection shall not have. Kishar and its host agitated shall be. Lahamu shall also make a shake and wobble. In earth's great below, the snow ice of the Whiteland is footing losing. The next time Nibiru, the closest to earth, shall approach, the snow ice off the Whiteland's surface shall come a-sliding. A watery calamity it shall cause. By a huge wave, a deluge, the earth will be overwhelmed. On Nibiru, great was the consternation, uncertain about Nibiru's own fate. Kings, savants, and counselors about earth and Lamu also greatly worried. The king and the counselors a decision made, for evacuating earth and Lamu to prepare. In the Abzu, the gold mine shut down, therefrom the Anunnaki to the Eden came. In Bad Tibera, smelting and refining ceased, all gold to Nibiru was lofted. Empty, for evacuating ready, a fleet of fast celestial chariots to earth returned. On Nibiru, the heavenly signs were watched. On earth, the tremors recorded were.
So
It was at that time
evacuate.
that from one of the celestial chariots a white-haired Anunnaki stepped off. Galzu, great knower was his name. With steps majestic to Enlil his way he made. To him a sealed message from Anu he presented. I am Galzu, emissary plenipotentiary of king and council to Enlil, he said. By his coming Enlil was surprised. No word from Anu of that did forecome.
So this guy Galzu just appeared, right? So it was at this time that from one of the celestial chariots, a white-haired Anunnaki stepped off. Galzu, great knower. Sound like Noah, right? If I should say knower in Jamaican terms, I would say Noah. Simple, Noah. Like knower in Jamaican is Noah. Okay? Alright. So Galzu, the great knower, was his name. With steps majestic to Enlil, he made his way, and to him a sealed message from Anu he presented, and said, I am Galzu, emissary, plenipotentiary of king and council to Enlil. Right?
Enlil, the seal of Anu examined, unbroken and authentic it was. In Nibruki, the message tablet was read. Its encoding was trustworthy. For king and council Galzu speaks. His words are my command, so did the message from Anu state. That Enki and Ninmah be also summoned was Galzu's request. When they came to Ninmah, Galzu pleasantly smiled. Of the same school in age we are, to her he said. This Ninmah could not recall. The emissary was as young as a son. She was as his olden mother. Simple is the explanation, Galzu to her said. By our winter's slumbered life cycles it is caused. Indeed, this matter is of my mission a part. About the evacuation, it is a secret. Ever since Dumuzi on Nibiru has stayed, returning Anunnaki on Nibiru examined were. Those who on earth the longest stayed by the returning harshly were afflicted. Their bodies to Nibiru cycles were accustomed no longer.
So basically, those Anunnaki who went back from Earth to Nibiru, their bodies were no longer accustomed to the cycles on Nibiru. So they were harshly afflicted.
Their sleep was disturbed. Their eyesight was failing. The net force of Nibiru weighed their walk. Their minds were also affected, as sons were older than the parents they had left. Death, my comrades, to the returnees quickly came, of that I am here a warning to give. The three leaders on earth the longest by the words silent became. Nimma was the first to speak. That much was to be expected, she was saying. Enki, the wise one, to her words consented. That much was clear, he said. Enlil with anger was seized. Before, the earthlings like us were becoming. Now, we as earthlings have become to this planet imprisoned. This whole mission to a nightmare turned. By Enki and his earthlings from masters, slaves we were made. To the outburst Galzu with compassion listened. Indeed, much there is to ponder, he said. On Nibiru, much thinking and soul-searching deep questions were raising. Should Nibiru to its fate been left, whatever by the Creator of all intended, to be let to happen? Or was the coming to earth by the Creator of all conceived, and we only unwitting emissaries? Of that, my comrades, the debate will continue, so was Galzu to them saying. Now, this is the secret command from Nibiru. The three of you on earth will remain. Only to die to Nibiru you will return. In celestial chariots, the earth encircling, the calamity you shall outwait. To each of the other Anunnaki a choice to leave or the calamity outwait must be given. The Igigi, her earthlings espouse, must between departure and spouses choose. No earthling, Marduk's Sarpanit included, to Nibiru to journey is allowed. For all who stay and what happens see, in celestial chariots they safety must seek. As for all the others, to depart for Nibiru, forthwith they ready must be. So did Galzu Nibiru's commands to the leaders in secret reveal. Now, this is the account of how the Anunnaki to abandon Earth decided, and how on oath they took mankind to let it in the deluge perish. In Nibruki, Enlil, a council of Anunnaki and Igigi commanders summoned.
So they took an oath to let all the earthlings perish, and 3 of them would wait out the storm in orbit, while the others would have the choice to either wait out the storm in orbit or return to Nibiru.
The leaders' sons and their children also were present. Word of the impending calamity Enlil to them as a secret revealed. To a bitter end Earth mission has come, to them he solemnly said. All who to leave wish in celestial boats that are ready to Nibiru will be evacuated. But if earthling spouses they have, without the spouses they must leave. Igigi, who to their spouses and offspring attached are, let them to the highest peaks on earth escape. As for a few of us Anunnaki who will choose to stay, in boats of heaven in earth's skies we will remain. The calamity to outwait the fate of earth to witness. As the commander I shall be the first one to stay, so was Enlil saying. By their own choice will be the others. With my father I choose to stay, the calamity to face, so did Ninurta announce. To the lands beyond the oceans after the deluge I will return. Nanar, Enlil's on earth firstborn, an odd wish announced. The deluge to outwait not in earth's skies, but on the moon. That was his wish. Enki, an eyebrow raised, Enlil, though puzzled, approved. Ishkur, Enlil's youngest, to remain on earth with his father his decision made. Utu and Inanna, Nanar's children who on earth were born, to stay declared. Enki and Ninki to stay, and earth not abandoned chose, proudly they so announced. The Igigi and Sarpanit I shall not desert, Marduk with anger stated. One by one Enki's other sons their choice to stay announced. Nergal and Gibel, Ninagal and Ningizida and Dumuzi too. All eyes
So
to
they all
Nimma then
decided to
turned.
stay.
With pride her choice to stay she declared. My life work is here. The earthlings, my created, I shall not abandon. By her words, Anunnaki and Igigi to a clamor were stirred. About the earthlings' fate they inquired. Let the earthlings for the abominations perish, so did Enlil proclaim. A wondrous being by us was created, by us saved it must be, Enki to Enlil shouted. To this Enlil with his own shouted words retorted. From the very beginning, at every turn, the decisions by you modified were. To primitive workers procreating you gave, to them knowing you endowed. The powers of the Creator of all into your hands you have taken. Thereafter even that by abominations you fouled. With fornication Adapa you conceived, understanding to his line you gave. His offspring to the heavens you have taken, our wisdom with them you shared. Every rule you have broken, decisions and command you ignored. Because of you, by a civilized earthling, brother a brother murdered. Because of Marduk, your son, the Agigi, like him, with earthlings intermarried. Who is lordly from Nibiru, to whom the earth alone belongs? To no one is no longer known. Enough, enough to all that I say. The abominations cannot continue. Now that a calamity by a destiny unknown has been ordained, let what must happen, happen. So did Enlil angrily proclaim.
So Enlil in rage saying, yo, look, this is gonna happen. Let them all perish and we just return. You know what I mean?
That all leaders solemnly swear to let events unhindered occur of all Enlil demanded. First to take the oath of silence was Ninurta. Other of Enlil's side followed. Nergal of Enki's son was first to take the oath. Other of Enki's sons followed. To your command I bow, Marduk to Enlil said. But of what worth is the swearing? If Agigi their spouses will abandon, would not the fear among the earthlings spread? Ninmah was in tears. The words of the oath she faintly whispered. Enlil at his brother Enki gazed. It is the wish of king and council to him, he said. Why will you bind me with an oath, Enki his brother Enlil asked. The decision by you was made on earth, it is a commandment. The flood waters I cannot arrest, the earthling multitudes I cannot save. To what oath to bind me you therefore desire? So did Enki his brother ask. To let it all happen as if by fate decreed, let it as Enlil's decision be known.
So Enki saying, so I won't be able to save all the earthlings. What oath is there? What oath of silence am I to swear to? There is no oath to sign to, because I won't be able to save everybody anyway.
On Enlil alone let the responsibility forever rest. So did Enki to all pronounce. Then Enki from the assembly departed. Marduk with him also left. With quick words of command Enlil the assembly to order brought. Task for what was to be done he with firm decisions assigned. Between those who will depart and those who will stay the groupings arrange. Places for assembly to designate, equipment to collect, chariots to assign. First to depart were those who to Nibiru were returning. With much embracing and the locking of arms and joy mixed with sorrow the celestial boats they boarded. One after the other the vehicles from Sippar roared aloft. At first those left behind journey safely shouted, then muted were the cries. After the launchings toward Nibiru completed were, the turn of Marduk and the Agigi with earthling spouses came. Marduk them all on the landing place assembled, a choice to them he gave. With him and Sarapanet and 2 sons and the daughters to Lamu go. There the calamity outwait. Or to distant mountain lands on earth disperse, a haven from the deluge to find. Enlil then of those who remained took account. By groupings to them chariots he assigned. Ninurta to the mountain lands beyond the oceans Enlil directed on earth's rumblings to report. To Nergal and Erish Kigal the task the white land to watch Enlil assigned.
So now we see how come the entire planet, every civilization has a story about a global flooding at the same specific time frame.
To guard against an onrush of earthlings, to Ishkur the task Enlil gave, to bar access, barrier and bolt to erect and bolster. Of all preparations, Sippar, the place of the celestial chariots, was the center. To Sippar Enlil the tablets of destinies from Nibiru moved. A temporary bond, heaven-earth, was there established. His brother Enki Enlil then addressed. To him he was thus saying, However, if ever the calamity might be survived, let all that had happened be remembered. Let us tablets of records in Sippar in the depths of earth safely bury. Let what from one planet on another done in days to come uncovered be. Enki his brother's words with approving accepted. Mies and other tablets in golden chests they stored. In the depths of the earth in Sippar for prosperity they buried. Thus ready for the signal to depart the leaders awaited. The approach of Nibiru in its great circuit with apprehension they watched. It was at that time of anxious waiting that Enki his sister Ninmah addressed. To her was Enki thus saying. In his preoccupation with the earthlings, all other living creatures, Enlil lost attention. When the avalanche of water sweeps over the lands, other living creatures, some by us from Nibiru originated, must from earth itself evolved. In one sudden swoop to an extinction shall be doomed. Let us, you and me, their seed of life preserve, their life essences for safekeeping extract. Nimma, she who gave life to the words of Enki favor gave. I shall do it in Shurabak. You do so with the Abzu's living creatures. So to Enki she said. While the others sat idly waiting, Enki and Nimma a challenging task undertook. Ninma in Shurabak by some of her female assistants was helped. Enki by Ningazita in the Abzu at the Olden House of Life was assisted. Male and female essences and life eggs they collected. Of each kind, 2 by 2 they in Shurabak and the Abzu preserved.
So 2 by 2 was not on an ark where actual full-sized animals were brought onto arks. They actually took sperm and egg and stored them until after the deluge.
For safe.
And this wasn't Noah's doing, as you can see. It's basically Enki and his wife and their servants.
Keeping while an earth circuit to be taken, thereafter the living kinds to recombine. At that time word from Ninurta came, earth's rumblings ominous are. At that time word from Nergal and Ereshkigal came, the white land is shaken. In Sippar all the Anunnaki gathered, the day of the deluge they awaited.
Yep. So thus far we have learned, based on what this is saying. And again, I'm not here to indoctrinate anybody. I'm just, reading, and as I'm reading, I'm presenting what I'm reading. So it's for you to decipher and to make your own decision. You know what I mean? So I appreciate all the support. You know what I mean? I need to stop saying, I'm going to stop. So appreciate the support, guys. We're going to move on to tablet 10. This is going to be the final tablet of the day. Thanks for being a part of the audience. Thanks for all the chats. Thanks for all the messages. I hope we all learned something. It's the last book of Enki. If this is your first time watching Rasta Ren Reads, we normally just read through the books, decipher as we go along, digest the information, and you make your own decision. So appreciate the support. We're going to dive right into tablet 10. And it's Rasta Ren 876 on Facebook, Rasta Ren _876 on X, TikTok, YouTube.
Synopsis of the 10th tablet. The mystery emissary appears to Enki in a dream vision. Enki is told to save mankind through his son Sasudra. By subterfuge, Enki directs Sasudra to build a submarine. A navigator comes aboard, bringing Earth's seeds of life. Nibiru's approach causes the Whiteland's ice sheet to slip. The resulting tidal wave engulfs the Earth with water. The remaining Anunnaki bewail the calamity from Earth orbit. The waters recede. Sasudra's boat rests on Mount Salvation.
Of course,
descending in a whirlwind, Enlil discovers Enki's duplicity. Enki convinces Enlil it was destined by the creator of all. They use the surviving landing platform as a temporary base. In a creation chamber there, crops and cattle are fashioned. Abundant gold is discovered in the lands beyond the seas. New space facilities are established in the olden lands. They include 2 artificial mounds and a lion-shaped carving. Nimma offers a peace plan to resolve erupting rivalries.
Then that lion shaped statue, where do we see that today? In the Egyptian, in Gaza, in the Giza plateau, right? It's still here, guys.
In Sippar, all the Anunnaki gathered. The day of the deluge they awaited. It was at that time, as the tension of awaiting was mounting, that the Lord Enki, asleep in his quarters, had a dream vision. In the dream vision there appeared the image of a man, bright and shining like the heavens. And as the man Enki approached, Enki saw that the white-haired Galzu he was. In his right hand an engraver's stylus he was holding, and in his left hand a tablet of lapis lazuli, shining smooth, he held. And as he approached near enough by Enki's bed to stand, Galzu spoke up and said, "Unwarranted your accusations against Enlil were, for only the truth he spoke, and the decision that as Enlil's decision will be known, not he but destiny decreed. Now into your hands fate take, for the earthlings the earth will inherit. Summon your son Sasudra without breaking the oath to him the coming calamity reveal. A boat that the watery avalanche can withstand, a submersible one to build him tell, the likes of which on this tablet to you I am showing. Let him in it save himself and his kinfolk, and the seed of all that is useful, be it plant or animal, also take. That is the will of the Creator of all." And Galzu in the dream vision with the stylus on the tablet an image drew, and placed the engraved tablet by the side of Enki's bed. And after that the image faded, the dream vision ended, and Enki with a shudder awoke. In his bed Enki for a while lying remained, with wonder the dream vision he pondered. What was thereof the meaning, what omen did it hold? Then, as off his bed he stepped, to and behold there was the tablet. What in a mere dream vision he had seen now by his bedside materially was. With trembling hands the Lord Enki the tablet picked up.
Yep, that's where you find that lion-shaped statue that we call the Sphinx.
A design of a curious
Old Egypt, the Giza plateau.
shaped boat upon the tablet he saw. By the tablet's edge measuring markings there were, the boat's measures indicating. Astir with awe and hope the Lord Enki by sunrise for his emissaries quickly sent. Find the one called Galzu, to him I must speak, so to them he said. By sundown all came back, to Enki thus reporting, none Galzu to find was able. Galzu, they said, to Nibiru did long ago return.
Yeah, in America it's called the Old Kingdom.
Greatly baffled Enki was, the mystery and its omen to understand he strove. Unravel the mystery he could not, yet the message to him was clear. That night to the reed,
good.
but where Sasudra was sleeping, Enki stealthily went. The oath not breaking, the Lord Enki not to Sasudra but to the hut's wall spoke. Wake up, to the reed wall Enki was saying. From behind the reed screen he was speaking. When Sasudra by the words was awakened, to him Enki from behind the reed screen said, Reed hut, to my words pay attention, to my instructions heed pay. On all the habitations over the cities a calamitous storm will sweep. The destruction of mankind and its offspring it will be. This is the final ruling, the word of the assembly by Enlil convened. This is the decision by Anu and Enlil and Nimma spoken. Now heed my words, observe the message that to you I am speaking. Abandon your house, build a boat, spurn possessions, save the life. The boat that you must build, its design and measurements on a tablet are shown. By the reed hut's wall the tablet I shall leave. Make sure that the boat shall be roofed throughout. The sun from the inside must not be seen. The tackle must be very strong, the pitch strong and tight to ward off the water. Let the boat be one that can turn and tumble the watery avalanche to survive. In 7 days build the boat, into it your family and kinfolk gather. In the boat food and water for drinking heap up, household animals also bring. Then on the appointed day a signal to you shall be given. A boat guide who knows the waters by me appointed to you that day will come. On that day the boat you must enter, its hatch tightly close you must. An overwhelming deluge coming from the south lands and life shall devastate. Your boat from its moorings it shall lift, the boat it shall turn and tumble. Fear not, to a safe heaven the boat guide will navigate you. By you shall the seed of civilized mankind survive. When Enki's voice fell silent, agog was Sasudra. On his knees prostrate he fell. My Lord, he shouted, your voice I heard, let me see your face. Not to you, Sasudra, have I spoken, to the reed wall did I speak, so Enki said. By Enlil's decision, by an oath upheld, and I bound to that all the Anunnaki swore, if my face you shall see, surely like all earthlings you will die. Now Reed Hut, to my words pay heed. The purpose of the boat, a secret of the Anunnaki, with you must remain.
So this guy lying to Sasudra saying, oh, if you see my face, you're gonna die. Woo. Crazy, right?
When the townspeople will inquire, to them you will say, the Lord Enlil with my Lord Enki has angry been. To Enki's abode in the Abzu I am selling, perchance Enlil will be appeased. For a while a silence followed. Sasudra from behind the reed wall came. A tablet of lapis lazuli in the moonlight shining he saw and picked up. The image of a boat upon it was drawn, notches its measurements gave. Wisest of civilized man was Sasudra. What he had heard he understood. In the morning to the townspeople he so announced. The Lord Enlil with the Lord Enki my master angry has been. On that account to me the Lord Enlil is hostile. In this city I no longer reside can, nor in the Eden my foot any more set. To the Abzu, the Lord Enki's domain, I will there a sailing go. In a boat that must quickly be built, I will away from here depart. Thereby the Lord Enlil's anger will subside, hardships will end. Upon you the Lord Enlil abundance henceforth will shower. The morning was not yet gone when the people about Sasudra gathered. To speedily for him the boat build they each other encouraged. Timbers of boat wood the elders were hauling, the little ones bitumen from the marshes carried. As woodworkers for planks together hammered, Sasudra in a cauldron the bitumen melted. With bitumen the boat he waterproofed inside and out. As in the drawing upon the tablet, the boat on the 5th day was completed. Eager to see Sasudra depart, the townspeople to the boat food and water brought. From their own mouths sustenance they took, to appease Enlil they were in a hurry. 4-legged animals into the boat were also driven, birds from the field by themselves flew in. Into the boat Sasudra his spouse and sons made embark, their wives and children also came. And who to the abode of the Lord Enki wished to go, let them too aboard come. So did Sasudra to the gathered people announce. Envisioning Enlil's abundance, only some of the craftsmen the call heeded. On the 6th day, Ninagal, lord of the great waters, to the boat came. A son of Enki he was, to the boat's navigator he was selected. A box of cedar wood in his hands he held, by his side in the boat he kept it. The life essences and life eggs of living creatures it contains, by the Lord Enki and Ninmah collected.
The 2x2.
From the wrath of Enlil to be hidden, to life resurrect if earth be willing. So did Ninagal to Sasudra explain. Thus were all beasts by their twos in the boat hidden. Now Ninagal and Sasudra in the boat the arrival of the 7th day awaited. In the 120th Shar was the deluge awaited. In the 10th Shar in the life age of Sasudra was the deluge forthcoming. In the station of the constellation of the Line was the avalanche looming. Now this is the account of the deluge that over the earth swept, and how the Anunnaki escaped, and how Sasudra in the boat survived. For days before the day of the deluge the earth was rumbling, groan as with pain it did. For nights before the calamity struck, in the heavens Nibiru as a glowing star was seen. Then there was darkness in daytime, and at night the moon as though by a monster was swallowed. The earth began to shake, by a net force before unknown it was agitated. In the glow of dawn a black cloud arose from the horizon. The morning's light to darkness changed, as though by death's shadow veiled. Then the sound of a rolling thunder boomed, lightning the skies lit up. Depart, depart, Utu to the Anunnaki gave the signal. Crouched in the boats of heaven, the Anunnaki heavenward were lofted. In Shurabak, 18 leagues away, the bright eruptions by Ningal were seen. Button up the hatch, Ningal to Sasudra shouted. Together, the trapdoor that the hatch concealed they pulled down. Watertight, enclosed completely was the boat. Inside, not a ray of light penetrated. On that day, on that unforgettable day, the deluge with a roar began. In the Whiteland, at the earth's bottom, the earth's foundations were shaking. Then, with a roar to 1,000 thunders equal off its foundations, the ice sheet slipped. By Nibiru's unseen net force, it was pulled away into the South Sea, crashing. One sheet of ice into another ice sheet was smashing. The Whiteland's surface, like a broken eggshell, was crumbling. All at once, a tidal wave arose. The very skies was the wall of waters reaching. A storm, its ferocity never before seen, at the earth's bottom began to howl. Its winds, the wall of water, were driving. The tidal wave northward was spreading. Northward was the wall of waters onrushing. The Abzu lands it was reaching. Therefrom, toward the settled lands it traveled. The Eden it overwhelmed. When the tidal wave, the wall of waters, Shurabak reached, the boat of Sasudra, the tidal wave from its moorings lifted. Tossed it about, like a watery abyss the boat it swallowed. Though completely submerged, the boat held firm. Not a drop of water into it did enter. Outside the storm's wave, the people overtook like a killing battle. No one his fellow man could see. The ground vanished. There was only water. All that once on the ground stood by the mighty waters away was swept. Before day's end, the watery wall, gathering speed, the mountains overwhelmed. In their celestial boats, the Anunnaki, the earth, were circling. Crowding the compartments against the outer walls, they crouched. What was happening upon the earth, down below, to see they strained. From the celestial boat in which she was, Ninmah, like a woman in travail, cried out, "My created, like drowned dragonflies in a pond the waters fill. All life by the rolling sea wave away was taken." Thus did Ninmah cry and moan. Inanna, who was with her, also cried and lamented. Everything down below, all that lived, has turned into clay. Thus did Ninmah and Inanna weep. They wept and eased their feelings. In the other celestial boats, the Anunnaki, by the sight of unbridled fury, were humbled. A power greater than theirs they with all those days witnessed. For the fruits of earth they hungered, for fermented elixir they thirsted. The olden days, alas, to clay have turned. To each other the Anunnaki said. After the immense tidal wave that over the earth swept, the sluices of heaven opened, and a downpour from the skies upon the earth was unleashed. For 7 days the waters from above with the waters of the great below were mingled. Then the wall of water, its limits reaching, its onslaught ceased, but the rains from the skies for 40 more days and nights continued. From their perches the Anunnaki looked down. Where there were dry lands now was a sea of water, and where mountains once to the heavens their peaks raised, their tops now like islands were in the waters. And all that on the dry lands was living in the avalanche of waters perished. Then, as in the beginning, the waters to their basins were gathered. Waving back and forth, day by day the water level came lower. Then, 40 days after the deluge over the earth swept, the rains also stopped. After the 40 days, Sasudra, the boat's hatch, opened, his whereabouts to survey. A bright day it was, a gentle breeze was blowing. All alone, with no other sign of life, the boat upon a vast sea was lolling. Mankind, all living things off the earth's face are wiped out. No one except us few survived, but there is no dry land to set a foot upon. So did Sasudra to his kinfolk say as he sat down and lamented. At that time, Ningal, by Enki appointed, the boat toward the twin peaks of Arata directed. A sail for her he shaped, right? Toward the Mount of Salvation he the boat guided. Impatient Sasudra was, birds that were on board he released. To check for dry land, for surviving vegetation to verify he sent them. He sent forth a swallow, he sent forth a raven, both to the boat returned. He sent forth a dove with a twig from a tree to the boat it returned.
Sounds a lot like this same biblical account of the flood, right?
Now, Sasudra knew that the dry land from under the waters had emerged. A few more days and the boat by rocks was arrested. The deluge is over. At the mountain of salvation we are, so did Nineveh to Sesudra say. Opening the watertight hatch from the boat, Sesudra emerged. The sky was clear, the sun was shining, a gentle wind was blowing. Hurriedly upon his spouse and children he to come out called. The Lord Enki let us praise, to him thanks give, to them Sesudra said. With his sons' stones he gathered, with them an altar he built. Then a fire on the altar he lit, with aromatic incense he made a fire. A ewe lamb, one without blemish, for a sacrifice he selected, and upon the altar to Enki the ewe lamb as a sacrifice he offered.
These tablets are around 250,000 years old.
At that time Enlil from his celestial boat to Enki words conveyed, Let us in the whirlwinds from the celestial boats upon the peak of Arata descend, the situation to review, what to be done to determine. While the others in their celestial boats the earth to circuit continued, Enlil and Enki in whirlwinds upon the peak of Arata descended. Smiling the two brothers met, with joy their arms they locked. Then Enlil by the whiffs of fire and roasting meat was puzzled. What is that? To his brother he shouted. Has anyone the deluge survived? Let us go and see, meekly to him Enki responded. In their whirlwinds to the other peak of Arata they flew over. The boat of Sesudra they saw, by the altar that he had built they landed. Every earthling had to perish, he with fury shouted, at Enki with anger he lunged. To kill his brother with his bare hands he was ready. He is no mere mortal, my son he is, Enki to Sesudra pointing cried out. For a moment Enlil was hesitating. You broke your oath at Enki, he shouted. To a reed wall I spoke, not to Sesudra, Enki said. Then to Enlil the dream vision related. By Nineveh alerted, Ninurta and Ninmah in their whirlwinds also touched down. When the account of events they heard, Ninurta and Ninmah by the account were not angered. The survival of mankind, the will of the Creator of all must be, so did Ninurta to his father say.
The official record says they are 3,200 years old, dating back roughly to 3,200 BCE. But the lifespan of these guys, that's not the official, that's not the truth, to put it that way.
Ninmah, her necklace of crystals, a gift of Anu, touched and swore, on my oath, the annihilation of mankind shall never be repeated. Relenting, Enlil by the hands of Sesudra and Imzara his spouse took and blessed them thus. Be fruitful and multiply, and the earth replenish. Thus were the olden times ended. Now this is the account of how survival on earth was restored, and how a new source of gold and other earthlings beyond the oceans were found. It was after the encounter at Arata that the waters of the deluge to recede continued, and the face of the earth gradually from under the waters was showing. The mountain lines were mostly unscathed, but the valleys under mud and silt were buried. From the celestial boats and from the whirlwinds the Anunnaki the landscapes surveyed. All that in the olden times in the Eden and the Abzu had existed under the mud was buried. Eridu, Nibriki, Shirobak, Sipar, all were gone, completely vanished. But in the Cedar Mountains the great stone platform in the sunlight glistened. The landing place in the olden times established was still standing. One after another the whirlwinds upon the platform landed. The platform was intact. At the launch corner the huge stone blocks held firm. Clearing debris and tree branches away, the first to land to the chariots signaled. One after the other the celestial chariots came. Upon the platform they touched down. Then to Marduk on the Mu and Nanar on the moon words were sent. And they too to earth returned. Upon the landing place they came down.
I would say coming, evolving from monkeys is way more demeaning than having been designed in a lab. Don't you think?
Now the Anunnaki and Igigi who were thus gathered by Enlil to assembly were called. The deluge we have survived, but the earth is devastated, so did Enlil to them say.
They use carbon dating on the tablets, which carbon dating has a lot of flaws that are known.
All ways to recover we must assess, be it on earth, be it elsewhere.
Yep, I was taught too in school about it's a book called The People Who Came, is what we learned history from in high school in Jamaica.
Lamu, by the passage of Nibiru, was devastated, so did Marduk relate.
Evolution.
Its atmosphere was sucked out, its waters thereafter evaporated, a place of dust storms it is. The moon by itself life cannot sustain, only with eagle mask is staying enabled. So did Nanar to the other's account give, and then words of Enamor he added. Once there, that it was Tiamat's host leader one must recall. Of Earth a companion it is, with it Earth's destiny is connected. Lovingly Enlil on his son's shoulders his arm put. With survival now we are concerned. So did Enlil to Nanar mildly retort, now sustenance is our first concern. Let us the sealed creation chamber examine, perchance Nibiru's seeds we shall still find.
No, ma'am, I mean, call it Seattle, Washington at the moment.
So did Enlil to Enki say, of the grains once created him reminding.
Actually.
At the side of the platform, clearing some mud, the shaft from times remote they found. The stone that blocked it they lifted up, or off, the sanctuary they entered. The diorite chest with seals were fastened, the seals with a copper key they made open. Inside the chest, in crystal vessels, the seeds of Nibiru's grain were there. Once outside, to Ninurta Enlil the seeds gave, to him he was thus saying, Go, the mountainside terrace, let the grains of Nibiru once again bread provide. In the Cedar Mountains, on other mountains too, Ninurta waterfalls dammed. Terraces constructed, the eldest son of Sesudra to raise crops he taught. To Ishkur, his youngest, Enlil another task assigned.
Good move.
Where the waters have receded, go and remaining fruit-bearing trees find. To him, as fruit cultivator, Sesudra's youngest son was assigned. The first fruit they found, the vine that by Ninmah was brought it was. Of its juice, as the Ananaxi's elixir renowned, Sesudra took a sip. By one sip, then another, and another, Sesudra was overpowered. Like a drunkard, he fell asleep. Then a gift to Anunnaki and earthlings Enki presented. The chest that Ninagal had carried he unveiled, its surprising contents to all he announced. The life essences and life eggs in the wombs of the four-legged animals from Sesudra's boat can be combined. Sheep for wool and meat will multiply, cattle for milk and hides will all have. Then with other living creatures the earth we shall replenish. To Dumuzi the sheep-herding task Enki gave, in the task was Sesudra's middle son assisting. Then to the dark-hued landmass where his and his son's domains had been, Enki his attention turned. With Ninagal at the confluence of mighty waters the mountains he dammed. Fierce waterfalls to a lake he channeled to let the waters as a lake accumulate. Then the lands between the Abzu and the great sea with Marduk he surveyed. Where habitations once were, the river's valley had how to drain he considered. At midstream where the river's waters cascaded, an island from the waters he raised. In its bowels twin caverns he carved out, above them from stone sluices he fashioned. From the two channels in the rocks he cut, for the waters two narrows he fashioned. Thus the flowing waters from the highlands coming he could slow or let go faster. With dams and sluices and the two narrows the waters he regulated.
I agree. It's heartbreaking to see what we have devolved to. You know what I mean? Knowing all the technology we had. And then later on in the tablet we're going to realize that civilization was also rebuilt.
Raised from the cavern island, the island of Abu, the river's serpentine valley from under the waters he raised. In the land of the two narrows for Dumuzi and the shepherds a habitation did Enki fashion. With satisfaction did Enlil all this to Nibiru words send. With words of concern Nibiru responded. The close passage that Earth and Lamu effected on Nibiru too much damage caused. The shield of gold dust was torn, the atmosphere was dwindling again. Now new supplies of gold quickly were needed. Fervently to the Abzu Enki went, with Gibel his son to survey and search he journeyed. All the gold mines were gone, by the avalanche of water they were buried. In the Eden, Bad Tibera too no longer existed. In Sippar a place for the chariots was no more. The hundreds of Anunnaki who in the mines at Tibera toiled from the earth were gone. The multitude of earthlings as primitive workers serving by the deluge were to clay turned. No gold can from earth any more be provided, so did Enlil and Enki to Nibiru announce. On earth and on Nibiru there was desperation. At that time Ninurta, his task in the mountains of cedars completed, to the mountain land beyond the oceans once again journeyed. From that land, on the other side of earth, astounding words he delivered. The avalanche of waters, deep cuts into the mountains there tore. From the mountainsides, uncounted gold in nuggets large and small to the rivers below fell down. Without mining can the gold be hauled.
Yep, this is in America, guys.
Enlil and Enki to the distant mountain land hurried. With amazement they the discovery viewed. Gold, pure gold, refining and smelting not requiring, all about was lying. A miracle it is, so was Enki to Enlil, saying, what by Nibiru was wrought, by Nibiru was amended. The unseen hand of the creator of all, it is life on Nibiru to enable, so did Enlil say. Now, who could collect the nuggets? How to Nibiru they will be sent, the leaders each other ask. Of the first question, Ninurta had the answer. In the high mountain land on this side of earth, some earthlings have survived. Descendants of Cain they are, with the handling of metals they are knowing. 4 brothers and 4 sisters are their leaders on rafts they themselves saved. Now their mountaintop in the midst of a great lake is an island. As the protector of their forefathers they me recall, the great protector they call me. By the report that other earthlings had survived, the leaders were heartened. Even Enlil, who the end of all flesh planned, was no longer angered. It is the will of the creator of all, to each other they said. Now let us a new place for celestial chariots establish, therefrom the gold to Nibiru send. For a new plain with soil has dried and hardened they searched. In the proximity of the landing place, in a desolate peninsula, such a plain they found. Flat as a quiet lake it was, by white mountains it was surrounded.
Sounds a lot like a part of Canada that I...
Now, this is the account of the new place of the celestial chariots, and the artificed twin mountains, and how the image of the lying by Marduk was usurped. In the peninsula, by the Anunnaki chosen, the heavenly ways of Anu and Enlil on earth were reflected. Let the new place of the chariots precisely on that boundary be located. Let the heart of the plain the heavens reflect, so did Enlil to Enki suggest. Once Enki to this agreed, Enlil from the skies of distances took measures. On a tablet a grand design for all to see he marked out. Let the landing place in the Cedar Mountains be a part of the facilities, he said. The distance between the landing place and the chariot place he measured. In the midst thereof a place for a new mission control center he designated. There a suitable mount he selected, the Mount of Way Showing he named it. A platform of stones, akin but smaller than the landing place, to be built there he ordered. In its midst a great rock was carved inside and out, to house a new bond heaven-earth it was made. A new navel of the earth, the role of Nibiru before the deluge to replace. The landing path on the twin peaks of Arata in the north were anchored. To demarcate the landing corridor in Lil, 2 other sets of twin peaks required. To delimit the landing corridor's boundary, ascent and descent to secure. In the southern part of the desolate peninsula, a place of mountains, twin adjoining peaks Enlil selected. On them the southern delimit he anchored. Where the second set of peaks was required, mountains there were none. Only a flat land above the water-clogged valley from the ground protruded. Artificial peaks thereon we can raise, so did Ningazita to the leaders say. On a tablet the image of a smooth-sided, skyward rising peaks for them he drew. If it can be done, let it so be, Enlil with approval said. Let them also as beacons serve. On the flat land above the river's valleys, Ningazita a scale model built. The rising angles and 4 smooth sides with it he perfected. Next to it a larger peak he placed, its sides to earth's 4 corners he set. By the Anunnaki with their tools of power were its stones cut and erected. Beside it, in a precise location, the peak that was its twin he placed. With galleries and chambers for pulsating crystals, he designed it. When this artful peak to the heavens rose, to place upon it the capstone the leaders were invited. Of electrum, an admixture by Gibbel fashioned, was the apex stone made. The sunlight to the horizon it reflected, by night a pillar of fire it was. The power of all the crystals to the heavens in a beam it focused. When the artful works by Ningazita designed were completed and ready, the Anunnaki leaders the great twin peak entered. At what they saw, they marveled. Eker, house which, like a mountain, is, they named it, a beacon to the heavens it was. That the Anunnaki, the deluge, survived and prevailed forever, it proclaimed. Now the new place of the celestial chariots, gold from across the seas can receive. From it, the chariots to Nibiru, the gold for survival, shall carry. From it to the east, where the sun on the designated day rises, they will ascend. To it, to the southwest, where the sun on the designated day sets, they will descend. Then, Enlil, by his own hand, the Nibiru crystals activated. Inside, eerie lights began to flicker. An enchanting hum, the stillness broke. Outside the capstone, all at once was shining, brighter than the sun it was. The multitude of assembled Anunnaki a cry of joy uttered. Ninma, by the occasion moved, a poem recited and sang. House that is like a mountain, house with a pointed peak, for heaven earth it is equipped, the handiwork of the Anunnaki it is. House bright and dark, house of heaven and earth, for the celestial boats it was put together, by the Anunnaki built. House whose interior with a reddish light of heaven glows, a pulsating beam that far and high reaches it emits. Lofty mountain of mountains, great and lofty fashioned, beyond the understanding of earthlings it is. House of equipment, lofty house of eternity, in the foundation stones the waters touch, its great circumference in clay is set. House whose parts are skillfully together woven, the great ones who in the skies circled to a resting make descent. House that for the rocket ships is a landmark, with unfathomable insides, by Anu himself is the Eker blessed. Thus did Ninma at the celebration recite and sing. While the Anunnaki their remarkable handiwork were celebrating, Enki to Enlil words of suggestion said, when in future days it will be asked, when and by whom has this marvel been fashioned? Let us beside the twin peaks a monument create. The age of the lion let it announce. The image of Ningazita, the peak's designer, let its face be. Let it precisely toward the place of the celestial chariots gaze. When, by whom, and the purpose let it to the future generations reveal. So did Enki to Enlil suggest. To the words Enlil consented, and to Enki said, of the place of the celestial chariots, Utu must again be the commander. Let the gazing lion, precisely eastward facing, with Ningazita's image be. When the work to cut and shape the lion from the bedrock was proceeding, Marduk to his father Enki words of aggrievement said, to dominate the whole earth to me did you promise.
Marduk
now
again.
Command and glory to others are granted, without task or dominion I am left. In my erstwhile domain are the artificed mounts situated. On the lion the image mine must be. By these words of Marduk, Ningazita was angered. The other sons were also annoyed. By the clamor for domains, Ninurta and his brothers were also aroused. Lands for themselves and devoted earthlings everyone was demanding. Let not the celebration a contest become. Ninma amidst the raised voices shouted, the earth is still in havoc, we Anunnaki are few, of the earthlings are our only survivors. Let Marduk, Ningazita of the honor not deprive, let us Marduk's words also heed. So did Ninma, the peacemaker, to the contending leaders say. For peace to prevail, the habitable lands between us should be apart set, Enlil to Enki said. To make the peninsula an uncontested divider they agreed, to the peacemaker Ninma they it allotted. Till moon, land of the missiles, they named it. To earthlings it was beyond bounds. The habitable lands to the east thereof to Enlil and his offspring were set apart. For the descendants of two sons of Sesudra, Shem and Japhet, therein to dwell. The dark-hued landmass that the Abzu included to Enki and his clan was for domains granted. The people of Sesudra's middle son, Ham to inhabit it were chosen, to make
Shem,
Marduk
Ham,
their
and
lord of
Japhet.
their lands. The master Enki
Noah's
to
3
appease
sons.
his son suggested. By your wish, let it so be. Enlil to Enki about it said. Until moon, in its mountainous south, an abode for Ninmah, his mother Ninurta, built. Near a spring with date trees, a verdant valley, it was located. The mountain peak Ninurta terraced, a fragrant garden for Ninmah he planted. When all was thus completed, a signal to all outposts on earth was given. From the mountain lands across the ocean, whirlwinds the gold nuggets brought. From the place of the celestial chariots to Nibiru the gold was lofted. On that memorable day, Enlil and Enki to each other said and agreed, let us, Ninmah, the peacemaker, with a new epitaph name honor. Ninharzag, mistress of the mountainhead, let us name her. By acclamation was Ninmah the honor given. Henceforth Ninharzag she was called. Praise to Ninharzag, on earth the peacemaker, in unison the Anunnaki proclaimed.
Yep. Oh, jeez. I didn't even realize that it wasn't even sharing anymore. My bad. But that brings us to the end of tablet 10. It goes all the way through the flood story. Tells us everything we need to know about the flood. What happened during the flood. Who were the pilots on the Noah's Ark, quote unquote. It goes through what caused the flood, how it happened, and all of that. So I'll be back Sunday, next Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. if you're on the West Coast, or what? I think that's 2 p.m. Central. Is that correct? No. 6 p.m. West Coast, 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Eastern, guys, 6 p.m. New York time. Let me not confuse everybody. 6 p.m. Eastern time, Sunday. We'll be back to go through tablet 11, 12, 13, and 14. That will bring us to the end of the story, and the end of the last book of Enki. Then what I want you to do is, as you suggested, Jen, we probably dive into the book of Enoch, the books of Enoch next. And then, yeah, we've been on here for almost 4 hours. I appreciate you, Jen. You're such a good sport, you know what I mean? So I appreciate you. We will be here Sunday again with the remainder of this book, tablets 11 through 14. Then from there we pick up with either the Kebra Negas, or we go right into the books of Enoch. But as we go and find more and more ancient, lost, or hidden information, I bring them here. We read them together and review. Sundays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Rasta Ren 876 on Facebook. Rasta Ren _876 on YouTube, Rumble, X, etc. Thanks again for the support, Jen. Enjoy your dinner. See you guys next week.